Hey there, everyone. Before we plunge into this incredible journey, do me a quick favor, will you? Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment below letting me know where in the world you're watching from and what time it is right now. Seriously, I love seeing where our community stretches. All right, ready? Because we're about to step back. Way back. The year is 1194. You wake with a jolt, not to the familiar warmth of your own hearth, but to the biting, relentless cold of a medieval winter, deep within the ancient, whispering heart of Sherwood Forest. The very first thing that hits you, even before you fully open your eyes, is the raw, earthy scent of damp soil and decaying leaves, sharp and unyielding, mingling with the faint, metallic tang of something else. It prickles at your nostrils, a subtle warning you can't quite place. Your body screams. Every muscle aches, a deep, bruising throb from head to toe, as if you've been thrown from a great height. You try to push up to lift your head, but your limbs feel heavy, unresponsive, like leaden weights. The air around you is frigid, stealing what little warmth your tattered clothes provide. You shiver uncontrollably, your teeth chattering a rapid, unsteady rhythm that echoes in your ears. You can feel the icy seep of moisture through the worn fabric beneath you, a chill that gnaws at your bones, sinking deeper with every breath you take. Slowly, painfully, you manage to crack open your eyelids. The world is a blur of murky greens and browns, a canopy of gnarled, bare branches clawing at a sky the color of bruised plums. The light is dim, struggling to penetrate the dense forest, making it hard to tell if it's dawn or dusk. You try to focus, to find something familiar, anything. Twisted oaks, towering elms, and skeletal ash trees stretch out in every direction, their forms indistinct in the gloom. The forest floor is a treacherous carpet of slick mud, dead leaves, and exposed roots, waiting to trip an unwary foot. A low, guttural growl echoes somewhere in the distance, sending a fresh wave of panic through your exhausted body. It's far off, but close enough to make the fine hairs on your arms stand on end. You quickly scan your surroundings, your eyes darting from shadow to shadow, searching for any movement, any sign of what could make such a sound. There's nothing, just the wind sighing through the branches, a mournful whisper that seems to carry untold stories of hunters and hunted. You force yourself to move, gritting your teeth against the protest of your aching muscles. Each twitch is a monumental effort. You slowly roll onto your side, the movement a slow, painful grind. Your fingers, numb with cold, brush against something hard and rough in the mud next to you. You reach for it, fumbling until your clammy grip closes around the smooth, cold wood of a staff. It's heavy, surprisingly sturdy, and provides a small measure of comfort, a tangible object in this disorienting nightmare. With renewed, desperate resolve, you wedge the staff into the earth, using it to push yourself up, inch by agonizing inch. Your legs tremble violently as you finally manage to stand, swaying unsteadily. Your head swims, a dizzying wave washing over you, but you fight it down. The forest looms, silent and indifferent, demanding you face it, demanding you survive. You grip the staff tighter, the wood a cold, solid reassurance in your shaking hand. Out here, lost and alone in this ancient wood, every second is a stark negotiation. You realize with a chilling clarity that the forest doesn't care who you are or what you've done. It simply is, and you are either part of its rhythm or swallowed by its silence. The sickening crack beneath your boot sends a jolt through your entire body, a sudden, violent tremor that races from your foot, up your leg, and straight into the pit of your stomach. For a terrifying, breathless instant, you feel nothing but air beneath you, a dizzying emptiness where solid ground should have been. The damp, mossy log you were trying to cross, already slick with recent rain, splinters with a groan that seems impossibly loud in the otherwise hushed forest, throwing you off balance. Your arms flail wildly, instinctively reaching out for purchase, for anything to steady you. You feel the rough bark of the log scrape against your palms, a desperate, futile grab. The world tilts, spinning on an invisible axis. You can hear the rush of the icy stream below, a relentless gurgle and splash that suddenly sounds like a roaring torrent. A chill, damp spray whips up, hitting your face, cold and shocking against your skin. You gasp, a sharp intake of the frigid air, as your weight shifts precariously. One foot slips completely, dangling uselessly into the churning water. The current immediately grabs at your boot, a tugging, insistent force that threatens to pull your entire body under. The water is brutally cold, a searing cold that burns even through your thick leather. Your muscles scream in protest, tensing painfully as you desperately try to lever yourself back onto the crumbling log. Your other foot digs in, scrabbling for a purchase that isn't there, finding only wet, decaying wood that threatens to give way at any second. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat demanding action. You grunt with effort, a ragged sound torn from your throat, as you push, strain, and twist. The staff you've been relying on is still clutched in your hand somehow. You manage to swing it, jamming the end into the bank on the far side of the stream, hoping for a firm anchor. It bites briefly, sending vibrations up your arm. You pull, a desperate heave, your knuckles white from the strain. The log beneath you groans again, a final, despairing sound before a larger section breaks away, falling into the water with a dull thop and vanishing downstream. You push off with your remaining foot, a sudden, desperate lunge, using the staff as a pivot point. Your body arcs awkwardly over the water, propelled by sheer will and adrenaline. For a moment, you are suspended, weightless, before you land hard on the opposite bank, scrambling wildly. Your knees hit the muddy earth with a jarring impact, sending a shockwave through your body, but you don't care. You're across. You lie there for a moment, chest heaving, the metallic taste of fear sharp on your tongue. The cold water drips from your leg, soaking the ground beneath you. Your hands tremble, scraped and raw, and the ache in your muscles is profound. You look back at the stream, now flowing innocently, quietly, as if it had never tried to drag you to your doom. And you realize, truly realize, how quickly life can pivot on a single misstep, how every choice, every movement holds an unseen consequence in its fragile balance. The sharp, acrid scent of wood smoke, surprisingly warm and inviting, cuts through the damp, earthy smells of the forest. It's a sudden, unmistakable aroma that pulls at you, stirring a forgotten memory of hearth and home, of safety. You lift your head, inhaling deeply, and for a moment the relentless cold that has been your constant companion seems to lessen, replaced by a flicker of hope. But a flicker of caution immediately follows. Smoke means people. People mean discovery. You move forward slowly, deliberately, each step a careful negotiation with the slippery mud and tangled roots. The staff becomes an extension of your body, probing the ground, steadying your balance. The wood smoke grows stronger, heavier, now carrying the faint, savory hint of cooking meat. A smell so potent, so deeply satisfying, it makes your stomach clench with an almost painful longing. Your mouth waters involuntarily, a vivid reminder of how long it has been since you truly ate, since you were warm. Peering through a dense thicket of holly bushes, you spot it. A small clearing, bathed in the flickering orange glow of a campfire. Figures, half shrouded in shadow, are gathered around it. Their voices are low, indistinct murmurs, the gentle rise and fall of conversation, utterly alien after the oppressive silence of the forest. You flatten yourself against the cold, rough bark of a thick oak, pressing deeper into the concealing foliage. Your heart begins to pound anew, a different kind of fear now, mixed with an overwhelming, almost desperate curiosity. You watch them, observing their simple, unhurried movements. One figure pokes at the fire with a stick, sending sparks dancing into the dark air like tiny, rebellious stars. Another leans back, seemingly relaxed, hands clasped behind their head. A third passes something around, perhaps a skin of ale, judging by the slight tilt of the head. They are clothed in rough tunics and trousers, practical and well-worn, not unlike your own tattered garments, but theirs seem lived in, comfortable, unlike the cold, scratchy rags that cling to you. A sudden, sharp burst of laughter pierces the air, a genuine, unburdened sound that makes you flinch, then ache. It's a sound that reminds you of everything you've lost, everything you're currently without. The contrast is stark, almost unbearable. They sit there, seemingly oblivious to the harsh realities that constantly prick at your own skin, the constant gnawing fear of the unknown. They possess warmth, food, companionship, the very things you crave most in this desolate wilderness. You find yourself weighing options, a feverish debate unfolding in the silent chambers of your mind. Approach them. Risk their suspicion, their potential hostility, for the chance of warmth and sustenance. Or remain hidden, observing, enduring the bitter cold and gnawing hunger, clinging to the slim, lonely safety of anonymity. The thought of stepping into that circle of light, revealing your bedraggled state, sends a fresh wave of vulnerability through you. But the smell of that cooking meat, that warmth, it's a siren's song. You clench your jaw, the decision a heavy weight. This forest doesn't just challenge your body. It challenges your very trust, forcing you to choose between the stark realities of loneliness and the dangerous allure of human connection. You push away from the rough bark, each movement feeling impossibly loud in the hushed stillness you've created. The decision is made, the risk taken. You step out from the deep shadows of the holly thicket, your staff held loosely, yet ready in your hand. The air in the clearing feels suddenly different, warmer, thicker, with the scent of pine and roasted meat. As your foot breaks the tree line, a twig snaps under your boot, a sharp, decisive sound that slices through the low murmur of conversation. Immediately, every head at the campfire swivels towards you. The gentle hum of voices abruptly ceases, replaced by an unnerving, absolute silence. 6 pairs of eyes, reflecting the dancing flames, fix on you, sharp and assessing. You can feel the weight of their collective gaze, a sudden, intense pressure that makes your skin prickle. No one moves. No one speaks. They simply watch, their expressions unreadable in the shifting light. The warmth of the fire, only moments ago so inviting, now feels like a spotlight exposing every vulnerability, every tear in your clothes, every scratch on your face. You raise your free hand slowly, a hesitant, universal gesture of peace. Your throat feels dry, constricted, and you swallow hard, trying to project something other than desperation. Your eyes meet those of a figure seated closest to the fire, a man with a weathered face and a gaze that seems to hold the ancient wisdom of the forest itself. He studies you for a long, silent moment, his eyes scanning you from head to toe, taking in your sodden clothes, your weary stance, the worn staff. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, his head inclines a fraction. He gestures with a hand towards an empty spot beside the fire, a silent invitation. The simple movement is like a dam breaking. The tension that had gripped the clearing and your own chest begins to ease. The others relax slightly, their shoulders dropping, though their eyes still follow your every move. It's not an embrace, not a warm welcome, but it's not outright rejection either. It's a guarded acceptance, a fragile truce. You take a cautious step forward, then another, until you stand within the circle of light. The heat from the flames immediately begins to seep into your chilled bones, a profound, almost dizzying relief. The delicious aroma of the cooking meat, skewered over the embers, is now overwhelming. Your stomach rumbles loudly, a mortifying sound that draws another flicker of observation from the group. The weathered man reaches for a small, wooden bowl, scooping out a portion of the stew bubbling in a pot over the fire. He holds it out to you, along with a piece of dark, crusty bread. The simple act of receiving it, the warmth of the bowl in your numb hands, feels like a miracle. You grasp it, your fingers still trembling, and offer another slight nod of thanks, meeting his gaze for a moment longer. There's no pity there, not exactly, but something akin to understanding, a recognition of shared hardship. You sit, finally, the ground hard but the warmth of the fire an immediate balm. This moment, surrounded by strangers, food in hand, with the night still stretching out, feels like a thin thread of grace in a world that has only known harshness. You eat slowly, savoring every mouthful, keenly aware that safety, even temporary, often comes wrapped in the fragile, unspoken agreements between wary souls. The deep, throbbing hum of the forest at night, a symphony of rustling leaves and distant calls, has just begun to lull you into a fragile sense of security as you sit by the crackling fire. Your stomach is full for the first time in what feels like an age, and the warmth radiating from the flames soothes your aching limbs. You lean back against a rough log, closing your eyes, letting the heat sink deep into your chilled bones. But then a sound. It's not a natural forest sound. It's a rhythmic asterisk thump, 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 distant yet undeniably deliberate, echoing through the dense canopy beyond the firelight's reach. It's faint, easily mistaken for a large animal, but there's a regularity to it, a subtle syncopation that sets your teeth on edge. Your eyes snap open, suddenly wide and alert, scanning the impenetrable darkness that presses in on the clearing. You try to pinpoint the direction, tilting your head slightly. The others around the fire, who moments ago seemed lost in their own thoughts or quiet conversation, have also gone still. Their gazes, too, are now fixed on the periphery, their shoulders subtly tensed. The weathered man who offered you the food slowly reaches down and casually, almost imperceptibly, adjusts a heavy, leather-wrapped object near his foot. His movements are fluid, practiced, a silent warning that speaks volumes. The rhythmic thumping continues, seeming to draw closer, though still obscured by the thick woods. It's too heavy for a rabbit, too even for a deer. It hints at something larger, something armored. A cold knot tightens in your gut, a stark contrast to the fire's comforting heat. The air, which moments before felt safe, now feels charged with an invisible tension, a quiet apprehension that settles over everyone in the clearing. No one speaks, but the unspoken question hangs heavy. What approaches? You instinctively grip your staff, your knuckles whitening. Even though you are surrounded by these strangers, their collective vigilance offers a strange, temporary solace. You watch the edge of the clearing, your breath held, straining to pierce the absolute blackness. Your eyes dart from shadow to shadow, trying to discern a shape, a movement, anything to give form to the unsettling sound. The fire, which provided such comfort, now also makes you a beacon, an easy target if whatever is out there is looking for trouble. The thumping ceases as abruptly as it began. The silence that follows is deeper, heavier than before, amplifying every tiny rustle of leaves, every distant hoot of an owl. It's a silence filled with anticipation, with the palpable awareness of unseen eyes in the darkness. You feel a bead of sweat trickle down your temple, despite the cool night air. The man across from you slowly exhales, a long, quiet breath, and glances at you, a shared understanding passing between you without a single word. It's a look that says, "Welcome to the real Sherwood." Here, even warmth and rest are just brief pauses in a world constantly whispering of hidden dangers. The heavy silence that descends after the thumping fades is even more unnerving than the sound itself. It hangs in the cold night air, thick and palpable, making every rustle of leaves, every distant hoot of an owl, sound impossibly loud. You can still taste the metallic tang of fear on your tongue, a lingering ghost of the sudden dread that gripped you. The warmth of the fire, once a comforting embrace, now feels like a stark contrast to the chilled air seeping into your bones as the initial adrenaline surge begins to recede. The others around you stir slowly, almost reluctantly. The weathered man, whose gaze you found earlier, extinguishes the fire with practiced movements, dousing the embers with a careful hand, sending up a final hiss of steam and a plume of thin smoke that quickly dissipates into the darkness. As the last sparks die, the clearing plunges into a deeper, more profound gloom, broken only by the faintest hint of gray on the eastern horizon, promising a reluctant dawn. You pull your tattered cloak tighter around you, shivering, not just from the cold but from the lingering prickle of unease. Your eyes, now accustomed to the deep night, strain to pierce the pre-dawn murk. The trees, once solid, familiar shapes, now seem to shift and sway in the gloom, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Every shadow seems to deepen, to coalesce into something more than just darkness. A low mist begins to roll in, creeping along the forest floor like a ghostly river. It swirls and eddies around the tree trunks, obscuring distances, blurring the lines between what is real and what is imagined. The air grows heavy with its dampness, clinging to your clothes, seeping into your hair. You find yourself constantly scanning the drifting white tendrils, convinced you can see movement within them, phantom figures coalescing only to dissolve again. Is that a silhouette of a helmeted head peering from behind that ancient oak? Or just the play of light on a moss-covered branch? Your mind, tired and hyper-alert, starts to play tricks. A cluster of ferns suddenly looks like a crouched figure. A twisted root resembles a hand reaching out. Every rustle of leaves, every distant snap of a twig makes you tense, your heart giving a small, anxious leap. You grip your staff tighter, its rough wood a small anchor in the swirling uncertainty. The others begin to move, not speaking, but exchanging quick, guarded glances, their own faces etched with a similar vigilance. They seem to melt into the mist, becoming indistinct figures, just like the phantom shapes you keep seeing. The cold, wet mist wraps around you, a silent, all-encompassing cloak that both conceals and disorients. You realize that sometimes, the most insidious threats aren't the ones that announce themselves with a heavy thump in the night. Sometimes, it's the quiet, persistent erosion of certainty, the slow creep of doubt into your perception, that truly tests your resolve. In Sherwood, you learn, the forest can play games with your eyes just as easily as it can conceal a hidden blade. The cold, damp breath of the mist wraps around you, seeping into your very bones, a profound chill that makes your shivers involuntary. You can feel its delicate, ghostly touch on your face, a fine spray that collects on your eyelashes, blurring the already indistinct world into an even hazier canvas of grays and muted greens. The air is thick, silent, swallowing sounds before they can truly form, reducing the vast forest to a mere arm's length of visible reality. You walk with an unnerving slowness, your staff held out before you like an extension of your senses, tapping cautiously against unseen roots and the damp, slick ground. Each step is a careful negotiation, an act of faith in what you cannot see. The figures of your silent companions are mere ghosts in the periphery, faint, shifting blurs of deeper gray, sometimes vanishing completely, only to reappear like specters when the mist momentarily thins. You instinctively keep pace, an unspoken agreement binding you to their obscured forms, relying on their unseen presence as much as your own footing. A low, guttural cough from somewhere ahead breaks the oppressive silence for a moment, a raw, human sound that briefly cuts through the ethereal shroud. It's followed by the faint rustle of clothing, the soft, rhythmic crunch of boots on fallen leaves, sounds that confirm you're still part of a group, still moving together. But even those sounds are absorbed quickly, leaving you once more in a world of whispers and imagined shapes. Your eyes ache from straining against the impenetrable veil, trying to discern meaning from the swirling vapor. You reach out, feeling for the arm of the weathered man who walks beside you. Your fingers brush against the rough wool of his sleeve, a solid, reassuring contact in the enveloping nothingness. He doesn't flinch, doesn't react, simply continues his steady, measured pace. It's a small, fleeting connection, a silent affirmation that you are not entirely alone in this desolate, swirling void. The touch is a tether, grounding you against the dizzying disorientation, a small warmth against the pervasive chill of the mist. Suddenly, a faint, metallic glint catches your eye, a momentary flash of dull light just beyond the nearest tree trunk. It vanishes as quickly as it appeared, swallowed by the shifting vapor. Was it a dewdrop catching the barely there light of dawn? Or something else entirely, something left behind by whatever made that ominous thumping sound? The uncertainty is a dull ache, a constant question lurking at the edge of your perception. The mist continues its relentless embrace, stripping away the familiar, challenging your senses, forcing you to find clarity not in what you see, but in what you feel, in the raw, primal instincts of survival and the unspoken trust in those moving beside you, even if they remain just blurs in the gray. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in seeing clearly, but in navigating bravely through the unknown. The world around you still swims in the lingering haze of the mist, but a new, sharper, more dangerous chill has suddenly pierced the air. Without warning, a jarring, metallic clang rips through the pre-dawn silence, impossibly close, echoing off the unseen trees with brutal, unforgiving force. It's immediately followed by guttural shouts, harsh and unfamiliar, slicing through the quiet forest like a jagged blade. Your blood runs cold, a sudden, icy jolt that zings through your veins, pushing away the last vestiges of warmth and sleep. You drop instantly, without conscious thought, flattening yourself against the damp, cold earth. The sudden impact jars your teeth, sending a jolt up your spine, but you barely register the pain. Your body instinctively presses deeper into the layer of fallen leaves and slick mud, desperate to become one with the forest floor, to vanish into the rough texture of the ground itself. You can hear the panicked rustle of your companions, a fleeting, desperate blur of movement as they scatter in every conceivable direction, vanishing like phantoms into the remaining tendrils of swirling fog and the denser undergrowth. You are utterly, terrifyingly alone in this critical moment, with only the cold, hard ground offering any semblance of comfort. The chilling realization of your solitude hits you hard, a visceral punch to the gut. The shouts grow louder, more distinct, closer now, accompanied by the heavy, measured thud of multiple boots on the sodden forest floor. You can hear the harsh, ragged breathing of men, the distinct clinking of mail armor, the subtle jingle of weapons and equipment. They are close, uncomfortably, dangerously close. You squeeze your eyes shut for a fleeting moment, then force them open, peering through the meager, thorny cover of a gnarled root and a dense tangle of low-hanging bushes. Your breath hitch in your throat, a desperate, silent struggle to remain absolutely still, to make yourself as small and insignificant as possible. Every single muscle in your body is screaming with an unbearable tension, poised on the knife edge between springing into desperate flight or freezing into absolute, unmoving silence. A deep, imposing shadow falls directly over you, momentarily blocking the faint, diffused light of the reluctant dawn. You hold your breath, your lungs burning, your heart hammering a frantic, deafening rhythm against your ribs, so loud you are certain it must betray your position. Through the thin gaps in the undergrowth, you catch a glimpse of a boot, heavy, dark leather, and completely caked in fresh mud, planted just mere inches from your face. It's adorned with a small, dull, rusted spur. You can almost taste the stale leather, the damp, earthy scent of the wool hose beneath, and even the faint, acrid smell of unwashed human skin. You feel the ground vibrate slightly with each subtle shift of their weight, the minute tremor a terrifying, undeniable confirmation of their terrifying proximity. The heavy boot pauses, agonizingly still for what feels like an eternity, then mercifully moves on, followed by another, and then yet another. You hear the muffled voices of the men pass by, their tones gruff and impatient, receding slowly, growing fainter with each passing second. The suffocating tension in your chest finally begins to ease its relentless grip. You wait, utterly, painstakingly still, until the last whisper of their presence completely fades, until the forest exhales a collective, silent breath of immense relief. Only then do you allow yourself a shallow, shuddering gasp for air, feeling the raw, desperate burn in your lungs. You slowly unclench your jaw, realizing with a jolt that you'd been biting down so hard your teeth ache. The heavy, metallic tang of the lingering mist still clings to the air, but beneath it, a new, sharper scent begins to emerge, the unmistakable, almost chemical smell of iron, mingled with the earthy dampness of the forest floor. You slowly uncurl yourself from the meager cover of the gnarled roots, your muscles screaming in protest, stiff and aching from the prolonged, deathly stillness. Every fiber of your being demands movement, but your instincts, honed by the last terrifying moments, insist on a slow, deliberate ascent, like a predator carefully testing the air. You push up inch by agonizing inch, your eyes darting from shadow to shadow, assessing the now slightly lighter gloom. The mist, though still pervasive, has thinned enough to reveal the ghostly outlines of nearby trees, the twisted forms of ancient oaks and the skeletal fingers of bare branches. The fear, though subdued, still pulses like a dull drum against your temples. You scan the ground, searching for any sign of your vanished companions, any hint of which way they might have fled. But the forest floor offers only a tangled mosaic of decaying leaves and mud, churned and disturbed by the recent passage of heavy boots. Your gaze catches on something unnatural. Just a few paces from where you lay, partially obscured by a clump of ferns, lies a small, dark object. It's stark against the muted greens and browns of the undergrowth, too regular, too deliberate to be a fallen branch or stone. Cautiously, staff held ready, you creep towards it, each step deliberate, weight carefully distributed to minimize any sound. The air feels heavy, pregnant with unspoken history, as if the very trees are holding their breath. As you draw closer, the object resolves into a recognizable, ominous form. It's a leather gauntlet, dark and stained with mud, partially hidden by a broken-off section of a gauntlet arm. The steel plates that should protect the back of the hand are bent, slightly twisted, and a faint, dried smear of something dark, blood, you realize with a cold jolt mottles the inner leather. It's not a common peasant's glove. This is the protective gear of a soldier, a man-at-arms, likely one of those who just stormed through this very spot. A shiver, colder than the mist, traces its way down your spine. You reach out, your fingers hesitating for a moment before you push aside the ferns. You pick it up. The leather is still stiff, cold, and strangely heavy in your palm, carrying the faint, lingering scent of iron and sweat. It feels like a trophy or perhaps a warning. Turning it over, you notice the leather straps are cut clean through, not torn, as if someone removed it quickly, violently. The implication is stark. A skirmish, an injury, or perhaps a desperate discard. Your eyes now trace a clearer path through the disturbed leaves, following what must be a fresh trail. The armored boot prints are more distinct here, heading deeper into the forest, away from the clearing where you spent the night. But these aren't just the prints of passing men. You also spot a fainter, lighter set of tracks, less defined, almost skipping alongside the heavier ones, then veering off sharply into a dense patch of thorny brambles. A small, subtle marking on a low-hanging branch just above the brambles, a single twig deliberately snapped and pointed, catches your eye. It's too specific to be random. It's a sign, a message. A sudden, sharp awareness dawns on you. This isn't just about escaping danger anymore. It's about understanding the marks left behind. The gauntlet is a grim reminder of conflict, but the broken twig, a deliberate signal, whispers of guidance, of a path perhaps left by one of your elusive companions. You realize that even in this wild, unforgiving place, human intention, whether hostile or helpful, always leaves its unique, traceable signature on the world, if you only know how to look. And that knowledge in itself is a kind of power. You push through the thorny brambles, the sharp spines snagging at your tattered tunic, a dull ache blooming across your forearms. The small, deliberately snapped twig that caught your eye earlier, pointing deep into the dense undergrowth, feels like a fragile thread in this vast, indifferent wilderness. You follow its unspoken command, your heart still thrumming with the lingering echoes of the soldier's boots. The mist has finally begun to lift, revealing more of the forest, but also more of its secrets, both benign and treacherous. Your eyes are glued to the ground, searching for the next hint, the next subtle sign. The forest floor, normally a chaotic tapestry of nature, now becomes a page filled with cryptic messages. You learn to discern the faint scuff mark on a patch of moss that isn't quite natural, the way a cluster of dead leaves has been nudged aside, revealing a darker, richer soil beneath. It's a silent language, spoken in disturbed earth and broken twigs, a conversation you're only just beginning to understand. You press on, your staff tapping rhythmically, cautiously, against the roots and stones that litter the path. The trail isn't obvious. It demands constant vigilance, a complete surrender of your senses to the task. You notice how one of your companions must have moved quickly, their prints lighter, sometimes skipping over obstacles. The larger, heavier boot prints of the soldiers, however, remain a constant, terrifying presence, sometimes overlaying the lighter ones, sometimes veering off in what you hope is a feint. The cold, damp air fills your lungs, each breath a sharp reminder of the urgency of your pursuit, or perhaps your escape. You move through a section of ancient yew trees, their dark, twisted trunks creating a natural tunnel. The ground here is softer, covered in a springy layer of needles that cushion your steps, muffling your sounds. The silence here is profound, broken only by the gentle rustle of your own movements and the distant call of a crow. It's a moment of deceptive calm, a brief respite where the only thing guiding you is the silent agreement embedded in these subtle forest markers. Suddenly, you see it. Another snapped twig, this one positioned strategically on a low-hanging branch of an ash tree, angled not forward but sharply to the left towards a narrow, almost hidden deer path. This isn't a random broken branch. It's a deliberate, intelligent signal. You pause, scanning the new direction. The deer path is overgrown, barely visible, winding its way through a dense thicket that promises more scrapes and snags. But the message is clear this way. As you navigate the tight, thorny passage, you notice something else. Stuck in a thorny bush, barely visible, is a small, bright scrap of green fabric. It's coarse, homespun, and unmistakably a piece of a tunic, the same color as the simple clothes worn by the men around the fire. It's a clear confirmation. One of them passed this way and deliberately left a marker, perhaps even torn a piece from their own garment to ensure you wouldn't lose the trail. A fleeting thought, a trap, or a desperate plea for you to follow, a strange mixture of relief and heightened anxiety washes over you. They are alive, or at least one of them was recently, and they wanted you to follow. This isn't just a flight for survival. It's a test of trust, a dangerous invitation to join a story already unfolding. You realize with a sudden clarity that navigating a forest isn't just about reading the earth, but about learning to read the intentions, the silent languages of the people within it. And sometimes, the most profound connections are forged not through words, but through the barest, most desperate signals of a shared path. The rhythmic thud of an axe, a dull, insistent beat against the forest's deep, pervasive hum, pulls you forward. It's a purposeful sound, unlike the chaotic clang of metal earlier, a steady percussion that speaks of labor of creation, rather than destruction. You follow the faint trail, the green scrap of fabric from earlier still vivid in your mind, a silent promise of direction. The mist has lifted almost entirely now, replaced by the diffused, soft light of a mid-morning sun struggling to filter through the dense canopy. Your legs ache with a dull, persistent throb, each step a testament to the arduous journey, the constant vigilance. You push through another tangle of thorny undergrowth, your breath coming in ragged gasps, the cold air burning slightly in your lungs. The forest here begins to change, the ground rising slightly, becoming rockier, less muddy. The trees grow larger, more ancient, their roots snaking across the earth like sleeping serpents. You can feel the subtle incline beneath your boots, a gradual ascent that hints at a more secluded, defensible location. The axe blows grow clearer, interspersed now with the softer sounds of wood scraping against wood, and a low, almost tuneful whistling. You pause at the edge of a small, natural amphitheater formed by a cluster of colossal, hollowed-out oaks and a massive outcropping of dark, moss-covered rock. It's a hidden sanctuary, surprisingly dry and sheltered. And there within it are your companions. They are not simply hiding, they are building. The weathered man from the fire, the one who offered you food, is expertly shaping a piece of timber with his axe, his movements fluid and precise, chips of wood flying with each swing. His face is etched with concentration, a picture of quiet, focused strength. Another figure, younger with nimble fingers, is meticulously weaving slender branches and leaves into a dense screen, camouflaging the entrance to a natural hollow in the rock face. A third is sharpening a collection of arrows, the rasp of stone against fletching a quiet, meticulous sound. Each action is deliberate, efficient, part of a larger, unspoken design. You watch them, unmoving, feeling the shift in the air, a different kind of tension. This isn't the panic of flight, but the quiet intensity of preparation, of purpose. Their faces, though grim, hold a resolve you hadn't perceived in the firelight. There's an almost monastic focus in their work, a complete immersion in the task at hand. You see the deep creases around the weathered man's eyes as he sights down his axe blade, the way the younger one tests the strength of his woven screen with a firm push. They don't speak, but their coordinated movements, their shared commitment, form a powerful, silent conversation. You step forward, and this time, the soft crunch of your boot on dried leaves doesn't startle them into abrupt silence. The weathered man looks up, his gaze steady, recognizing you without surprise. He simply inclines his head, a silent acknowledgement, then gestures towards a pile of raw timber and a heavy, smaller axe lying nearby. No words are exchanged, but the message is clear. There is work to be done. This isn't just a refuge, it's a workshop, a new kind of hearth forged from ingenuity and sheer will. And as you grasp the cold, heavy handle of the axe, feeling its weight, you realize that true safety isn't found in stillness, but in the relentless, purposeful act of shaping your own survival, even amidst the deepest wilderness. The raw ache in your palms, already blistering, bites sharply with every swing of the axe. It's a different kind of pain than the bruising cold or the desperate scramble of escape. This is the deep, burning protest of muscles pushed to their limit, of skin chafed and torn by the rough, unyielding grain of wood. The rhythmic thwack of your axe blade against the thick timber vibrates up your arms, a jolt that travels through your shoulders and into your core, demanding precision, demanding power. You can taste the fine dust of wood on your tongue, a dry, slightly bitter flavor that mixes with the metallic tang of sweat dripping into your mouth. You focus intently on the task. The weathered man, whose silent invitation you accepted, works beside you, his own movements a masterclass in efficiency. He shows you, without a single word, how to hold the axe, how to strike to split the wood cleanly, how to shave off thin curls to shape a joint. You try to mimic his fluid grace, his seemingly effortless power, but your own efforts feel clumsy, jarring. Splinters, sharp as needles, embed themselves in your calloused hands, a constant reminder of the raw, untamed nature of your material. The air in this hidden hollow is thick with the scent of fresh-cut oak and damp earth, a primal perfume that begins to replace the lingering fear of the chase. You watch as a piece of timber slowly, stubbornly, yields to your efforts, its rigid form gradually taking on the shape you intend. There's a profound satisfaction in the resistance, in the physical struggle that, when overcome, reveals a new form, a new purpose. Your breath comes in ragged, uneven bursts, but there's a growing rhythm to your labor, a syncopation with the focused work of the others. The younger man, quick and agile, moves with purpose, hauling heavy bundles of interwoven branches and green foliage. He skillfully lashes them to a rudimentary frame of saplings, transforming the gaping maw of the rock hollow into a surprisingly effective, near-invisible entrance. You see his brow furrowed in concentration as he ties complex knots, ensuring the camouflage is seamless, that no stray glint of light or unnatural line betrays their sanctuary. The careful, deliberate silence he maintains speaks volumes about the importance of their hidden world. You watch another companion, a stoic woman, quietly gathering dry kindling and small branches, her movements swift and silent. She is meticulous, choosing only the driest pieces, stacking them in a way that suggests a deep understanding of fire, of its need to be both hidden and sustained. Her gaze occasionally sweeps the surrounding woods, a watchful, almost predatory intensity in her eyes, never letting her guard down, even in the midst of productive effort. Hours pass, marked only by the shifting light filtering through the canopy and the deepening ache in your muscles. The hideout begins to take shape around you, a testament to shared labor. What was once a simple rock face and a few trees is slowly being transformed into a defensible, living space. The sheer scale of their endeavor, the dedication to creating something so solid and enduring in such a hostile environment, fills you with a quiet awe. You realize that a true sanctuary isn't merely found. It's meticulously, painfully, and purposefully built, piece by resilient piece, out of the very wilderness that threatens to consume you. And in that shared effort, you find a new, unexpected kind of belonging, a silent pact forged in sweat and sawdust. The biting cold on your exposed skin is a constant, almost physical presence, a sharp reminder of the long night stretching out ahead. You crouch low, tucked beneath the gnarled roots of an ancient oak, a natural lookout point just outside the camouflaged entrance to the hollow. Your breath frosts visibly in the frigid air, each exhalation a small, temporary cloud that quickly dissipates into the deeper gloom. The world around you is a tapestry of shifting shadows and the almost overwhelming silence of deep night in the forest, a silence so profound it seems to hum. Your eyes, now fully adjusted, strain against the darkness, scanning the barely discernible outlines of trees, the dense undergrowth, the unseen paths that wind through the woods. Every rustle of leaves, every distant snap of a twig, registers with startling clarity. Your ears are acutely attuned, sifting through the symphony of the forest. The gentle whisper of the wind through bare branches, the soft hoot of a faraway owl, the faint scurry of some tiny creature in the leaf litter. You are learning to distinguish these natural sounds, to categorize them, to know their rhythm. Beside you, the quiet, watchful presence of one of the companions, the stoic woman who gathered kindling earlier, is a silent anchor. She doesn't move, barely seems to breathe, yet her awareness is a palpable force. You catch the faint, earthy scent of her simple woolen cloak, the raw, natural smell a grounding contrast to the sharp chill of the night. Her gaze, you realize, is fixed on a different section of the forest than your own, a silent division of vigilance, an unspoken trust that you each cover your assigned arc. Suddenly, a sound different from the others. It's a distant, low murmur carried on a slight shift in the wind. Not an animal, not the wind itself. It's a faint, almost indistinguishable rumble, like muffled thunder far off, or the low groan of heavy carts moving across rough ground. It's a sound you wouldn't have noticed days ago, but now it prickles at the back of your neck. Your heart gives a small, unwelcome lurch, tightening in your chest. You turn your head slowly, imperceptibly, towards your companion. Her eyes, reflecting the dim starlight, are already on you. There's no fear there, no panic, just a calm, assessing intensity. You hold her gaze, a silent question passing between you. Without a word, she subtly cocks her head, a minute gesture indicating she heard it too, then raises a single hand, palm flat, a universal signal for wait, listen. Her eyes then return to her section of the woods, a silent command for continued vigilance. You focus again, straining your hearing. The faint rumble grows infinitesimally, then fades, swallowed by the vast, indifferent expanse of the forest. Was it real? A trick of the wind or your overtaxed mind? The silence that follows is even heavier than before, pregnant with the possibility of unseen forces. The tension is a wire pulled taut within you, a constant, low hum of readiness. This isn't the sudden, terrifying rush of active flight or fight, but the enduring, grinding test of unwavering attentiveness. You realize, as the hours of watch slowly tick by, that true mastery of this wild place isn't just about strength or speed. It's about becoming a part of its rhythm, understanding its whispers, and learning to interpret the subtle, almost imperceptible signs that speak of both danger and safety. Vigilance here isn't a chore. It's a sharpened sense, a vital extension of your very being, teaching you that sometimes the most profound insights come not from what you actively seek, but from what you patiently, quietly allow the world to reveal to you in its own hushed language. The soft, persistent nudge against your arm is the only signal, a silent command that pulls you away from the gnarled roots of the ancient oak. The stoic woman, your night watch companion, moves with a fluidity that belies the frigid air, her shadow melting into the deeper gloom of the forest. You follow, your own movement still a little stiff from the long hours of stillness, but fueled now by a potent cocktail of curiosity and apprehension. The low rumble you heard earlier, though faded, still echoes faintly in your memory, a silent compass pointing you into the deeper, unknown parts of Sherwood. You move through the pre-dawn forest like a ghost, your boots barely disturbing the damp leaf litter. Every step is a careful negotiation, your staff now a subtle probe, testing the ground ahead. The cold, crisp air bites at your exposed skin, a constant, sharp reminder of the unforgiving wilderness, but your focus is absolute. The pervasive scent of damp earth and decaying leaves slowly begins to shift, subtly at first, then more distinctly. A new aroma filters through the trees, the heavy, unmistakable smell of horse manure, mingled with stale wood smoke and the faint, greasy tang of unwashed men. It's an immediate, visceral warning, a stark contrast to the clean, wild smells of the untouched forest. The ground beneath your feet becomes firmer, more disturbed, with patches of trampled mud and broken twigs. The forest begins to thin, revealing a wider expanse ahead. You drop lower, mimicking your companion, crawling on hands and knees through a dense thicket of prickly gorse, the thorns tearing at your clothes, scratching your skin. You ignore the minor pain, your senses now entirely consumed by what lies just beyond the last screen of foliage. Peering through a small gap in the tangled branches, you see it. A small, temporary clearing, crudely cut into the forest, illuminated by the dying embers of a hastily doused campfire and the pale, nascent light of dawn. 4 figures, unmistakably soldiers in their heavy, dull chainmail and conical helms, stand guard. They move with an almost bored vigilance, occasionally stamping their feet against the cold, their breath pluming white in the chill air. The clink of their mail, the dull gleam of their weapon hilts, is terrifyingly clear. But it's not just the soldiers. Dominating the center of the clearing is a heavy, 4-wheeled cart, its large wooden wheels sunk deep into the muddy earth. It's covered by a thick, dark canvas tarp, lashed down with heavy ropes, but you can discern the bulk of its contents. Stacked neatly beside it are several large, heavy wooden crates, their rough surfaces stamped with an unfamiliar heraldic crest. One of the soldiers paces near them, occasionally kicking at the ground, his gaze lingering on the covered wagon with a possessive air. The sight of the crates, the fortified wagon, and the alert, though weary, guards tells a clear story. This isn't just a patrol, it's a transport, moving something of considerable value, or perhaps strategic importance, through the heart of Sherwood. Your companion beside you subtly tightens her grip on the small, sheathed dagger at her waist, her jaw clenching almost imperceptibly. A shared understanding passes between you, a silent recognition of the enemy's resources and the clear, dangerous stakes involved. You realize that sometimes, the true nature of power isn't in what's displayed openly, but in what's hidden, guarded, and transported with such vigilant care through the vulnerable heart of the wilderness. The biting cold of the pre-dawn air seeps into your bones, a stark counterpoint to the growing heat of your own nervous energy. You lie prone in the damp earth, nestled amongst the roots and fallen leaves, barely daring to breathe. The scent of stale wood smoke and horse manure from the soldiers' camp is now sickeningly potent, clinging to your nostrils, mingling with the metallic tang of fear and the raw earth. Every muscle in your body is coiled, taut as a bowstring, ready to spring or freeze at the slightest provocation. Your eyes, narrowed against the encroaching light, fix on the heavy wagon. Its canvas cover, now clearer in the dim light, appears thicker, almost armored than you first thought, obscuring whatever lies beneath with an almost defiant secrecy. The rough heraldic crest stamped on the wooden crates is now visible in more detail, a snarling wolf's head, unfamiliar yet menacing. It feels significant, a mark of authority or ownership, hinting at a powerful hand behind this guarded transport. Beside you, your companion remains a statue of silent vigilance. You can feel her presence, a shared current of acute awareness. Her gaze drifts from the wagon to the soldiers, then back to you, a wordless communication that reinforces the gravity of the situation. There's no hurry, only a profound patience, a recognition that the forest demands precision and stealth above all else. You know you need to get closer, to learn more about those crates, about what could be so vital to warrant such a heavily armed guard in the heart of Sherwood. Inch by agonizing inch, you begin to move. It's a slow, arduous crawl, closer to the perimeter of their makeshift camp. The ground is cold and unforgiving, a treacherous landscape of hidden roots and sudden dips. You feel the rough scrape of pebbles against your forearms, the chilling dampness seeping through your worn clothes, but you ignore it, your focus absolute. Every movement is deliberate, calculated, placing your weight with the utmost care to avoid a snap of a twig, a rustle of dry leaves. Your breath is held tight in your chest, exhaled only in soft, controlled whispers. You reach a small rise, partially screened by a cluster of dense, low-growing bushes. From here, the camp is clearer, closer. You can hear the low, grumbled conversations of the soldiers, their voices thick with cold and fatigue. One of them yawns, a deep, weary sound that makes your own jaw ache in sympathy, then stamps his feet again, rubbing his gloved hands together. They are human, tired, vulnerable, but still dangerous. Your eyes track the soldier nearest the crates. He leans against one, his attention momentarily drawn to something deeper in the woods. This is your chance. You push yourself forward again, a silent, almost liquid motion, until you are barely 10 paces from the wagon. You can make out the texture of the canvas, the thick, heavy ropes. The wolf's head crest on the crates looks even more menacing up close, a symbol of brute authority. What riches, what secrets could be worth such a journey, such a display of force? You push down the urge to reach out, to touch the crates, to try and discern their contents. The risk is too great, but you've seen enough. You've gleaned the weight of their purpose, the nature of their cargo. As you slowly, carefully, begin to retreat, melting back into the shadows, a realization settles over you. The true strength of those who live in the Greenwood isn't just in their bows or their hiding places. It's in their ability to see what others try to hide, to understand the silent currents of power, and to know that sometimes the most valuable treasure isn't gold or jewels, but the dangerous, elusive currency of knowledge itself. The biting cold on your face intensifies as you carefully, silently, pull back from the treacherous edge of the soldiers' camp. Each muscle, stretched taut with the prolonged stillness of observation, protests with a low tremor as you begin your slow, deliberate retreat. The stale, greasy scent of their presence still clogs your nostrils, a constant, unpleasant reminder of the danger you've just skirted. You taste the dry, earthy residue of the ground on your lips, the gritty tang of survival. You move with the fluidity of a shadow, reversing your crawl, painstakingly retracing your path through the gorse and over the broken ground. The thorns still snag, still prickle at your skin, but the fear of discovery now outweighs any discomfort. You feel the constant, watchful presence of your companion beside you, a silent, reassuring anchor in the pre-dawn gloom. Her subtle hand gesture, guiding you around a particularly noisy patch of dry leaves, is a testament to the unspoken language that now binds you. The scent of horse and men gradually fades, replaced by the clean, sharp aroma of pine needles and damp earth, a welcome purification of the air. The forest, which moments ago felt like a hostile, alien landscape, begins to soften, to return to its familiar, wild self as you put distance between yourself and the camp. You feel a profound exhale deep in your chest, a release of the tension that had been a tight knot in your gut, but the information you carry burns with a new, potent kind of urgency. Finally, the dense screen of interwoven branches, concealing the hideout's entrance, looms into view. It's a sight that brings with it a surprising wave of relief, a sense of having navigated the deep, dark waters and found solid ground. You slip through the disguised opening, feeling the rough texture of bark and leaves brush against you, a subtle caress of safety. The air inside the hollow, though cool, is still warmer, drier than the outside world, and carries the faint, comforting smell of seasoned wood and stored herbs. The other companions are waiting, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of a hidden lantern. The weathered man, their unspoken leader, sits sharpening a knife. His eyes, sharp and intelligent, immediately fix on you. There's no greeting, no unnecessary sound, only a collective turning of attention, a focused intensity that draws you into their silent circle. You can feel the weight of their expectations, the quiet demand for knowledge. You sink to the ground, your muscles aching, and without a word, you trace a crude map in the dirt with your finger. You point to where the soldiers were, outline the wagon, mark the position of the crates with the wolf's head crest. Your companion beside you adds a silent gesture, confirming the number of guards. The weathered man nods slowly, his gaze following your every movement, absorbing the details, piecing together the invisible puzzle. His hand strokes his chin, a habitual gesture of deep thought. A low murmur ripples through the small group, a quiet exchange of glances, of subtle shifts in posture. You can feel the energy in the small space shift, tightening, solidifying. This is the moment of decision, the quiet contemplation before the storm. The risks are clear, the odds likely stacked against them, but the stakes, whatever they are within those crates, are clearly high enough to warrant their dangerous attention. You realize with a sudden, startling clarity that you're no longer merely observing. You're now part of their tapestry, entangled in their purpose, a silent, vital piece in the unfolding, dangerous story of Sherwood. You feel the heavy, exhilarating weight of shared purpose, the quiet, terrifying thrill of standing on the precipice of a choice that will bind your fate to theirs. The rough, unvarnished wood of the longbow feels alien in your grasp, surprisingly heavy, yet balanced. Its surface, cool and smooth from countless hands before yours, carries the faint, lingering scent of beeswax and seasoned timber, a smell that speaks of care and purpose. The bowstring, taut and unforgiving, stretches like a sinew, vibrating with a low, almost imperceptible hum against your fingertips. It's a weight, a responsibility, a silent, potent promise of action. This isn't your simple staff. This is a hunter's tool, a warrior's extension. The air inside the hidden hollow is thick with a quiet intensity, a focused calm that precedes any storm. The soft glow of the concealed lantern casts long, dancing shadows, making your companions appear as ancient, resolute figures. No one speaks. Each movement is precise, deliberate, a testament to long practice and deep understanding. You watch the weathered man, his eyes sharp and serious, inspect a quiver of arrows, testing the fletching, the balance of each shaft, his fingers moving with an almost reverent touch. The metallic asterisk thwip of him testing a bowstring echoes, sharp and brief, in the confined space, a sound that makes your stomach clench. He approaches you, his gaze steady, unwavering, and extends a hand, offering a single, perfectly fletched arrow. Its tip, a sharpened flint, gleams menacingly even in the dim light. You take it, feeling the smooth, cold stone against your thumb, the delicate feathering tickling your palm. He then demonstrates, in slow, measured gestures, how to knock the arrow, how to draw the string back to your ear, how to hold your breath, how to aim with the impossible stillness required for a true shot. His movements are a silent lesson, a transfer of deadly knowledge. You try to mimic him, your fingers fumbling slightly with the knocking point, your arms trembling with the unfamiliar strain of the draw. It feels clumsy, awkward, yet undeniably powerful. The younger companion, nimble and quick, straps a small, well-stocked satchel to his back, checking its contents with a practiced hand. He then secures a wicked-looking dagger to his belt, the glint of its polished blade catching the lantern light for a fleeting instant. His eyes, usually bright with youthful energy, are now narrowed with a grim resolve, a hardened focus that transforms his boyish features into something entirely different. He gives you a quick, assessing glance, a silent nod that is neither challenge nor reassurance, but simply a recognition of your shared, dangerous task. The stoic woman checks the lashing on her own hunting knife, its worn leather grip familiar in her hands. She hands you a small, flat pouch, heavier than you expect. Inside, you feel the cool, rounded pebbles, carefully selected for weight and trajectory, sling stones. Your mind quickly reconfigures, imagining the blur of them through the air, the dull impact. Your arsenal is simple yet deadly, a stark reflection of the harsh realities of their existence. The moment stretches, pregnant with anticipation. You stand there, bow in hand, the arrow a silent, deadly promise in your grip, sling stones a surprising weight against your hip. You've moved from fleeing to observing and now to participating. There's no turning back from this precipice. You feel the profound, ancient shift within you, the transformation from a mere survivor into an active agent, a hunter poised on the edge of a dangerous, defining confrontation. And you realize with a deep, unsettling certainty that in this wild, unforgiving place, life isn't just about enduring. It's about making your stand, about choosing the moment to draw a line, and deciding with every fiber of your being what you are truly willing to fight for. The damp earth presses into your cheek, chilling you to the bone, but you barely register the cold. Every nerve ending is alive, humming with an electric current of anticipation and fear. You're pressed low, deep within a tangle of thorny gorse bushes, the rough branches scratching at your exposed skin, yet you remain absolutely still. The longbow, now feeling less alien, rests lightly across your outstretched arm, an arrow nocked, its flint tip a dark, silent promise aimed down a narrow gap in the foliage. The bitter scent of decaying leaves and wet soil fills your nostrils, overlaid with the ever-present, cloying smell of distant horse manure, growing steadily stronger. Beside you, the weathered man from the fire is a still shadow, his own longbow drawn, string vibrating almost imperceptibly with his controlled breath. His eyes, sharp and focused, scan the approach, his gaze piercing the faint pre-dawn gloom. You feel his subtle, almost imperceptible shift in weight, a signal that tells you they are close, very close. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat that threatens to betray your presence to the entire forest. You tighten your grip on the bow, your knuckles white, your thumb aching from the pressure on the arrow's nock. Then you hear it. The heavy, rhythmic thump-thump-thump of the wagon, closer now, accompanied by the muffled jingle of mail and the low, gruff voices of the soldiers. The sound grows, amplifying with each passing second, transforming from a distant rumble into a distinct, approaching roar. The ground beneath you begins to vibrate, a deep, unsettling tremor that travels up your arms, through the bow, and into your very core. A primal instinct screams at you to flee, to disappear, but another, newer instinct, forged in the silent understanding of your companions, locks you in place. Suddenly, a small, dark object arcs through the air from deep within the trees opposite, landing with a soft, dull thud directly in the path of the approaching wagon. It's the signal. In the next heartbeat, the forest erupts. A sharp, piercing whistle cuts through the air, followed by the hiss of arrows. You release your own, a clumsy, desperate shot, feeling the unexpected recoil of the bow, the blur of the arrow. Almost instantly, a grunt, A sudden heavy crash as the wagon lurches violently, then careens sideways. Shouts of alarm, screams of pain, and the frantic neighing of horses fill the air, a cacophony of sudden, brutal chaos. You quickly knock another arrow, your hand surprisingly steady despite the adrenaline coursing through you. Soldiers are spilling from the wagon, their heavy armor clanking, their shouts turning to desperate roars as they try to orient themselves. Your companions, now visible as swift, dark blurs, are already in motion, moving with a terrifying efficiency, closing the distance, their own arrows finding their marks. You see the glint of steel, the flash of a dagger, the sudden, sickening collapse of a mailed figure. The air is thick with the metallic smell of fresh blood, the pungent odor of fear. You aim at a soldier scrambling to draw his sword, release the arrow, and watch with a disbelieving shock as it finds its mark, a clean, swift strike. He stumbles, crying out, clutching at his arm. This isn't the distant, theoretical violence you'd imagined. It's visceral, immediate, brutally real. The chaos of conflict, you realize, isn't just about survival. It's a stark, terrifying dance where every second demands a brutal, absolute choice between the life of another and your own. And in that terrifying moment, you discover a part of yourself you never knew existed, capable of action, capable of striking, utterly transformed by the sudden, unforgiving brutality of the fight for what's right. The sharp, metallic tang of adrenaline is still raw on your tongue, mingling with the acrid scent of spent effort and the unsettling, unmistakable odor of fresh blood. The ringing in your ears slowly begins to subside, replaced by the deep, pervasive quiet of the forest, a silence that now feels heavy, laden with the recent violence. Your longbow, still clutched in a white-knuckled grip, feels impossibly heavy, a dead weight after the chaotic rush. Your arms tremble uncontrollably, a delayed reaction to the sudden, brutal outburst of combat. You lower the bow, your eyes wide, scanning the scene of the ambush. The wagon, listing sharply, its front wheel shattered, lies askew in a tangle of broken branches and churned mud. The horses, unharnessed by your swift companions, are already being led away into the deeper woods, their hooves splashing quietly in a nearby stream. Three figures, once formidable soldiers in mail armor, now lie still and broken amidst the undergrowth, their helms askew, their weapons scattered. The vivid green of your companions' tunics flashes between the trees as they move, quick and efficient, securing the perimeter, their faces grim but resolute. A profound silence settles once more, deeper than before, broken only by the soft, almost reverent rustle of leaves as your companions finish their task. The weathered man, their leader, approaches the disabled wagon, his gaze fixed on the heavy, canvas-covered bulk. He gestures to you, a silent invitation to examine the prize, to finally uncover the secrets held within those marked crates. Your heart begins to beat faster again, a new kind of anticipation replacing the fading fear. You move towards the wagon, your steps cautious, almost hesitant, picking your way through the disturbed earth. The air here is colder, heavier, charged with the lingering memory of conflict. The thick canvas tarp, lashed down with heavy ropes, feels rough beneath your fingers as you reach for it. You work quickly, alongside another companion, untying the stubborn knots, pulling at the coarse fabric. The wood of the crates beneath feels cold and unyielding. As the tarp finally falls away, pushed aside by the collective effort, the true nature of the cargo is revealed. It's not gold, not jewels, not weapons. Instead, row upon row of small, meticulously crafted wooden cages, each one perfectly sized to house a single, tiny, panicked creature. And within each cage, a small, terrified bird, its feathers dull, its eyes wide with a desperate, unseeing fear. These aren't common forest birds. Their plumage is too vibrant, too exotic, their forms too delicate. And amongst the cages, nestled securely, are several larger, heavier chests, bound with iron, clearly filled with coins, glinting dully in the emerging dawn light. Your companions exchange quick, astonished glances. The weathered man's eyes narrow, a slow, understanding nod passing between him and the stoic woman. The younger man lets out a soft, almost imperceptible whistle of surprise. This isn't just a simple robbery. It's a trade in living things, a cruel and elaborate scheme hidden behind a show of military force. And the wealth, the sheer volume of coin, suggests a grander purpose, a deeper corruption. You realize, with a sudden, chilling clarity, that the true battles of Sherwood aren't always fought with steel, but often against the silent, insidious commodification of life itself, against those who would trap beauty and freedom for profit. The weight of this discovery settles heavily, a new, unexpected burden on your already weary soul. The panicked flutter of tiny wings, a frantic, desperate symphony of soft thumps against wooden bars, assaults your ears as the canvas is fully removed. The stench of fear, sharp and acrid, rises from the scores of small cages, mingling with the earthy tang of the forest. Your gaze falls upon the multitude of terrified birds, their vibrant plumage dulled by confinement, their bright eyes wide with unseeing terror, darting wildly within their cramped prisons. You feel an immediate, sickening clench in your gut, a profound sadness for these tiny, fragile lives held captive. The sheer volume of cages, stacked haphazardly in rows, is astounding. Each delicate creature is a burst of unexpected color, brilliant blues, fiery reds, deep greens, a kaleidoscope of stolen life. They beat against the wooden slats, chirping frantic, high-pitched cries that pierce the quiet of the aftermath, a stark, heartbreaking contrast to the immense, silent freedom of the forest around you. You reach out a tentative hand, your fingers brushing against the cold, rough wood of a cage, feeling the frantic vibration of the bird trapped within. Its tiny heart must be hammering like a drum. The weathered man, his face grim, his eyes shadowed with a somber understanding, slowly draws his knife. For a terrifying, breathless instant, your mind races, conjuring images of swift, brutal ends. But then he leans forward, and with a careful, almost surgical precision, he begins to slice through the delicate, intricate lashing that secures the door of the nearest cage. His movements are deliberate, controlled, utterly without malice. He glances at you, a silent, weighty invitation in his gaze before moving on to the next. The message is clear. The purpose of this fight wasn't just plunder, it was liberation. You find yourself mirroring his actions. Your fingers, still raw and aching from the axe and the bow, now move with a surprising gentleness. You carefully pry open the first tiny door, a wave of anticipation and trepidation washing over you. The bird inside, a blur of sapphire and emerald, initially huddles deeper into the corner, paralyzed by the sudden, unfamiliar opening. You hold your breath, offering a still, open hand. Slowly, tentatively, it scrambles onto your palm, its tiny claws prickling your skin, its weight almost imperceptible. For a fleeting second, it just sits there, trembling, its eyes fixed on your face with an almost human fear. Then, with an explosive burst of sound and color, it launches itself from your hand. You feel the sudden, powerful beat of its wings against your skin, a brief, exhilarating rush of wind. It shoots upwards, a brilliant streak against the pale morning sky, a joyous, uncontrolled chirp erupting from its small throat. It circles once, twice, a triumphant, dizzying spiral, before vanishing into the vast, welcoming green canopy, its song a fading echo of pure, unadulterated freedom. A lump forms in your throat, a sudden, unexpected swell of emotion. Encouraged, you work faster, as do your companions. The air fills with the frantic chirping, then the joyous, exultant calls as more and more birds burst from their prisons. The clearing transforms into a whirlwind of vibrant feathers and darting wings, a living, breathing rainbow erupting from the confines of the cages. Some fly straight up, others pause on nearby branches, preening their ruffled feathers, shaking off the trauma of captivity, before taking to the sky with renewed vigor. The sound is glorious, a symphony of newfound freedom, a chaotic, beautiful explosion of life that seems to cleanse the very air of the recent violence. The emptied cages, scattered across the wagon, now look hollow, ghostly, their purpose obliterated. And beside them, the heavy, iron-bound chests of coins, once the apparent prize, lie untouched, almost forgotten. Their dull gleam seems insignificant, irrelevant compared to the vibrant, living wealth that now soars into the sky. The silence that settles after the last bird vanishes into the canopy is profound, almost deafening. It's a different kind of quiet than before, not the oppressive silence of fear, but the hushed reverence of shared accomplishment. You stand amidst the wreckage of the wagon, the empty cages like skeletal remnants of their former captivity, a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos of a moment ago. Your fingers still tingle from the brush of tiny wings, a lingering phantom touch of liberation. The air, though still cool, feels lighter, imbued with a newfound purity. Your gaze, along with those of your companions, now shifts to the heavy, iron-bound chests. They sit there, silent and inert, their rough wood and dull metal an imposing presence amidst the scattered debris. No longer overshadowed by the living cargo, their true weight, both physical and symbolic, becomes clear. The ornate wolf's head crest, stamped into the iron bands, seems to sneer, a symbol of the power and greed that sought to profit from stolen life. The weathered man, his expression unreadable, approaches the largest chest. He crouches, his movements slow and deliberate, and runs a calloused hand over the cold, unyielding metal of its lock. There's no urgency in his action, no frantic desire for the contents. It's a careful, almost respectful assessment, as if weighing not just the gold but the implications of its presence. He signals to the younger companion, who quickly produces a small, sturdy pry bar from his satchel. The air tenses, a quiet anticipation building. With a sharp crack followed by the groan of stressed wood and the screech of protesting metal, the lock gives way. The lid slowly creaks open, revealing a breathtaking cascade of glittering gold and silver coins, piled high, spilling out to catch the filtering morning light. The sight is dazzling, a sudden, blinding flash of immense wealth that makes your breath catch in your throat. You feel an undeniable pull, a primal fascination with the sheer abundance, the promise of security, of power, that such a fortune represents. You reach out, your fingers trembling slightly, and run them through the cool, smooth cascade of coins. The metallic clink is soft, muted, yet deeply resonant. The weight of them in your hand is surprising, a heavy, tangible mass of pure value. You lift a handful, letting them spill back into the chest, the sound a soft, satisfying jingle. It's more than just metal. It's freedom, influence, the very lifeblood of the world outside this forest. Yet as you look at your companions, there's no frantic grabbing, no greedy scramble. The younger one lets out a low whistle of awe but quickly recovers, his eyes meeting the weathered man's. The stoic woman, her face impassive, simply nods, a silent agreement passing between them. They look at the gold not as personal treasure but as a tool, a resource. The weathered man gestures, first to the empty cages, then to the coins, then finally with a sweep of his hand towards the distant, unseen roads leading out of Sherwood. His intent is clear. This wealth, ripped from the hands of the unjust, will not gather dust. It will serve a purpose, not for personal gain, but for those beyond this clearing, those who suffer under the very power this gold once supported. You feel a profound shift, a deep understanding that the true liberation isn't just freeing birds, it's about redistributing the very means of oppression. You realize that a fortune by itself is just cold metal. Its real power, its true worth, only emerges when it is put into motion, transforming from mere possession into a force for justice, an act of defiance against a world that values profit over life. This is not about taking for yourself, but about reshaping the balance, one coin, one act at a time. The heavy, clinking weight of the leather pouch against your hip is a constant, unfamiliar presence, a tangible reminder of the fortune you now carry. It's not the cold, unyielding solidity of the gold itself, but the way it subtly shifts, rustles, and presses against your leg with every careful step. The air, though still crisp and cold, feels different here, thinner, carrying a faint, distant scent of wood smoke and something vaguely domestic, a subtle shift away from the wild, purely earthy smells of the deep forest. You move with a heightened sense of stealth, a deliberate fluidity born of your time with these greenwood folk. Your boots, once clumsy, now fall almost silently on the path, a mix of dry leaves and hardened mud, distinct from the treacherous softness of the deeper woods. The sounds around you are no longer just the rustle of leaves or the hoot of an owl. You can hear the faint, muffled bark of a distant dog, the almost imperceptible tinkle of a bell, sounds that hint at human dwellings at the edge of civilization. Beside you, the stoic woman, usually a blur of quiet efficiency, moves with an even greater grace. She is your guide in this moonless night, a living shadow that melts seamlessly from tree to tree, occasionally raising a hand to signal a pause, a shift in direction, or a warning. Her presence is a silent lesson in camouflage, in becoming one with the night itself. You follow her lead, your eyes constantly scanning the dark, your ears straining for any unnatural sound, any sign of discovery. This isn't the exhilarating chaos of ambush. This is the nerve-wracking tension of silent infiltration, a delicate dance on the edge of detection. A faint, flickering light appears through a gap in the trees ahead, a soft, inviting glow that makes your heart give a cautious leap. It's a small, humble dwelling, its outline barely visible against the darker forms of a nearby barn and a low stone wall. The air here is colder, a biting wind whispering through bare branches. You can hear the faint, high-pitched whimper of a child from within, a soft, heartbreaking sound that pierces the quiet night and hardens your resolve. This is why you are here. You and your companion drop to a low crouch, creeping closer, until you are hidden by the rough, mossy texture of the stone wall that borders the cottage garden. The cold, damp stone presses against your face, a gritty touch that grounds you. You extract a small, heavy pouch from your belt, feeling the cool, rounded coins within. This isn't about grand gestures, it's about a quiet, unseen intervention. With utmost care, your companion points to a small, loose stone in the wall just beneath the window. You slide the pouch into the hidden crevice, pushing it deep, ensuring it's completely concealed. Your fingers brush against the cold, damp earth of the wall, the roughness of the stone. Then, with a quick, silent glance at your companion, you melt back into the deeper shadows, leaving the fortune behind, unseen, unacknowledged. The child's faint whimper continues, but now, a flicker of hope, silent and unseen, has been kindled within those cold walls. You repeat the act, moving from one isolated dwelling to another, guided by the woman's intimate knowledge of the forgotten paths and the hidden needs. Each time, the tension is a live thing, a cold knot in your stomach as you approach, as you deposit the hidden gift, as you retreat. You learn to discern the subtle signs of poverty, the patched roof, the single, dying ember visible through a crack in a shutter, the profound silence of a house where there is nothing left to stir. This isn't just giving. It's placing a desperate lifeline in the hands of the unseen, the unheard. As you finally retreat deeper into the forest, the sounds of human habitation fading behind you, the heavy weight of the gold is gone from your hip, replaced by a profound, subtle lightness in your spirit. A sudden, unexpected bitterness floods your mouth, so sharp it makes your eyes water. You'd been reaching for what looked like a cluster of wild berries, glistening with morning dew, deep within a shadowed crevice of a moss-covered boulder. Your companion, the weathered man, quickly swathes your hand away, his eyes wide with a silent warning. The berries, a deceptively vibrant red, now appear menacing, dangerous. You spit repeatedly, trying to rid your tongue of the acrid taste, feeling a prickle of alarm at your own near recklessness, your still naive trust in the forest's bounty. He shakes his head slowly, a gesture that carries a profound, ancient wisdom. Then, without a word, he points to a different vine, one almost entirely camouflaged by the surrounding foliage, its berries a dull, unassuming blue. He plucks a few, rubs them clean on his tunic, and offers them to you. This time, as you bite into them, a burst of sweet, earthy flavor explodes on your tongue, a delicious counterpoint to the bitter memory. It's a small, intimate lesson in survival, in distinguishing life from subtle, alluring poison. You are deeper in Sherwood than you've ever been, in a part of the forest that feels utterly untouched by human hands, by human time. The air here is colder, damper, heavy with the scent of ancient earth, of millennia of decaying wood and rich, dark soil. The trees are colossal, their trunks wider than any you've seen, their gnarled branches reaching up to form a cathedral ceiling that filters the sunlight into ethereal shafts of light. Their bark is thick, furrowed, draped with hanging moss like wizened beards, each wrinkle a story centuries old. You can feel the profound, almost overwhelming presence of age all around you, a sense of deep, patient observation from the very ground beneath your feet. Your boots sink slightly into the soft, springy moss that carpets the forest floor, muffling your footsteps, making you feel like an intruder in a sacred space. The light, where it manages to pierce the canopy, falls in dappled patches, illuminating strange, twisted roots that coil and writhe like petrified snakes. It's a quiet world, broken only by the gentle drip of water from unseen leaves and the faint, rhythmic pulse of life beneath the earth. You can almost hear the trees breathing, a deep, slow respiration that echoes the heartbeat of the forest itself. You follow the weathered man, his movements as fluid and silent as the forest creatures, deeper into this ancient realm. He leads you to a massive, perfectly circular clearing, ringed by 12 enormous, impossibly old oak trees. Their trunks are scarred, hollowed, split by lightning strikes in the sheer passage of time, yet they stand, resolute, forming a living monument. In the very center of the circle, almost swallowed by moss, lies a single, immense stone, strangely smooth and perfectly flat, like a forgotten altar. You step into the clearing, feeling an immediate, profound shift in the atmosphere. The air here is stiller, colder, yet strangely vibrant, humming with an invisible energy. Your skin prickles, as if unseen eyes are watching you from every ancient knot, every swaying branch. You instinctively reach out, touching the rough, deeply furrowed bark of one of the colossal oaks. It feels cold, solid, yet alive, a deep, slow pulse resonating beneath your fingertips. You can almost feel the centuries of growth, the silent witnesses to countless seasons, countless lives. The weathered man gestures to the ancient stone in the center, then to the encircling trees, a silent explanation. You trace the faint, almost entirely eroded carvings on the stone's surface, patterns that hint at a time before memory, before written word. This place, you realize with a shiver, isn't merely old. It is ancient. It is the heart of Sherwood, a place where the veil between worlds feels impossibly thin, where the whispers of time echo from the very roots of the earth. A low, resonant hum begins to vibrate through the soles of your feet, a deep, almost subaudible thrumming that seems to rise from the very heart of the ancient clearing. It's not a sound you hear with your ears, but one you feel in your bones, a slow, persistent pulse that echoes the quiet, vast rhythm of the earth itself. The air, already still and cool, grows impossibly heavy, thick with a scent you can't quite name, ancient earth, rich growth, and something else, something subtly electric, like the air before a storm. Your skin prickles, a sensation of countless unseen eyes, not hostile but profoundly, patiently observant. The weathered man stands before the immense, flat stone in the center, his eyes closed, his face turned upwards as if silently drinking in the invisible current. He raises his hand slowly, palms open, not in supplication, but in a gesture of deep reciprocal connection. He then lowers his hands, his eyes still closed, and subtly inclines his head towards you, a silent invitation to join him in this profound, wordless communion. You close your eyes, hesitantly at first, then with a growing surrender. The world immediately shifts. The visual noise of shadows and light vanishes, replaced by an intensified tapestry of other senses. The cold, damp earth beneath you presses against your knees, a grounding touch. The subtle whisper of the wind through the colossal oak leaves becomes a rhythmic sigh, a chorus of voices from the distant past. You can almost feel the slow, relentless growth of the roots beneath the soil, the intricate, vast network of life stretching outwards, downwards, connecting everything. The vibrations deepen, now a palpable tremor through your entire body, a sense of being enveloped by something immense and ancient. You feel a strange lightness, a profound connection to the towering trees, as if their gnarled bark and deep roots are somehow an extension of your own skin, your own being. The forest is not just around you. It is within you, a part of your blood, your breath. You perceive a vast, intricate web of life, a slow, enduring consciousness that has witnessed centuries, millennia, unfolding around this sacred space. Time itself seems to stretch and thin, becoming a flowing river rather than a fixed point. As you slowly open your eyes, the clearing appears transformed. The light seems to shimmer with an inner luminescence, the greens of the moss and leaves more vibrant, the browns of the ancient bark deeper, richer. The air feels charged, alive with an unseen energy that hums just beyond the edge of perception. The colossal oaks, already immense, now seem to pulse with a quiet power, their forms more defined, their silent presence more profound. They are not merely trees. They are sentient observers, ancient guardians steeped in the deepest magic of Sherwood. The weathered man opens his eyes, his gaze meeting yours. There's a knowing depth in their depths, a silent question and a shared understanding. He offers a slow, serene smile, a rare softening of his often grim features. You realize that this place isn't just a physical sanctuary. It's a spiritual one, a profound connection to the heart of something timeless. And in that moment, you understand that some truths aren't explained but are simply felt, deep in the core of your being, resonating with the enduring, quiet power of the world, reminding you that even in a fleeting human life, you are part of something infinitely vast, ancient, and deeply, irrevocably alive. A sudden, vicious gust of wind whips around you, an invisible hand pushing against your back, snatching your breath from your lungs. It's not just cold. It's a frigid, piercing force that seems to claw at your exposed skin, trying to tear your tattered cloak from your shoulders. You instinctively brace yourself, your feet digging into the damp, crumbling earth, feeling the loose pebbles shift and slide beneath your boots. The air here, at the base of what appears to be an impossible rock face, carries the sharp, metallic tang of exposed iron ore, mingling with the pervasive, damp scent of ancient stone and clinging moss. The weathered man, your quiet guide, simply gestures upwards, a silent command that brooks no argument. His face, etched with the wisdom of countless ascents, shows no doubt, only a patient expectation. He begins his own climb, his movements fluid and precise, finding invisible footholds and handholds with an almost supernatural ease. His form seems to melt into the gray, rough texture of the rock, a seamless integration of man and mountain. The younger companion follows, nimble and agile, ascending with the effortless grace of a squirrel, leaving you at the challenging, intimidating base. You reach out, your fingers numb with the cold, to grasp the first available hold. The rock is sharp, unforgiving, tearing at your already calloused palms. A tiny trickle of icy water runs over your knuckles, instantly numbing them, making your grip feel less secure. You press your cheek against the cold, gritty stone, inhaling the scent of damp minerals, feeling the rough, unyielding surface against your skin. Every muscle in your body tenses, screaming in protest even before you begin to put your weight on them. Your breath rasps in your throat, loud and ragged in the stark, silent challenge of the climb. Inch by agonizing inch, you haul yourself upwards. Your boots scrabble for purchase on slick, moss-covered ledges, sending loose debris clattering down into the unseen depths below. The height is dizzying, a constant, nagging fear at the back of your mind. You dare not look down. Your eyes are fixed on the next handhold, the next precarious foot placement, each one a desperate, singular focus. The sheer, immense verticality of the rock face seems to mock your efforts, its impassive gray skin stretching endlessly above. The strain on your forearms is immense, a burning fire that threatens to consume your strength. Your shoulders ache, your legs tremble violently, pushed to their absolute limit. You can feel the small, sharp stones digging into your knees as you push upwards, scraping skin from bone, but the pain is a distant echo beneath the raw, visceral imperative to ascend. You focus on the rhythm of movement, grasp, pull, push, secure. A slow, agonizing dance between gravity and grit. You glance upwards, catching the fleeting, encouraging gaze of the stoic woman, already halfway up, her silhouette a picture of unwavering resolve. She pauses for a moment, her eyes meeting yours, then subtly points to a hidden crevice, a subtle, almost invisible crack in the rock face that offers a firmer, more secure hold. Her silent guidance is a lifeline, a shared knowledge that pushes you past the point of imagined exhaustion. You reach for it, finding its solid edge, a small, profound victory in the relentless struggle. As you finally haul yourself over the last treacherous lip of rock, collapsing onto a small, flat ledge, your lungs burning, your limbs trembling uncontrollably, the world seems to tilt and spin. The air at this height is crisper, colder, but also unbelievably exhilarating. You lie there, chest heaving, tasting the metallic tang of blood in your mouth from a bitten tongue. Below, the forest canopy stretches out, a vast, emerald sea, dotted with the winding paths you've already traversed, and above, the immense, indifferent sky. The wind, a relentless, roaring current, tears at your clothes, chilling you to the bone even through the exertion of the climb. It howls across the exposed summit, a vast, empty sound that seems to swallow all others. You stand swaying slightly on the highest point you've ever reached in Sherwood, the sheer drop behind you a dizzying, terrifying thought you dare not dwell on. The air is thin, sharp, carrying the metallic tang of distant iron and the clean, wild scent of pines. Before you, the world unfurls. Sherwood Forest stretches out like an immense, living tapestry, an endless sea of green and brown, dotted with the silver ribbons of winding rivers. From this height, the individual trees are merely textures, shades, blending into an unbroken wilderness that seems to swallow the very horizon. The scale is breathtaking, humbling, making the skirmishes you've faced feel impossibly small, a tiny ripple in this vast, ancient ocean. Your companions stand beside you, equally silent, equally dwarfed by the immensity of the view. The weathered man points, his arm extended, a single finger tracing a path across the distant landscape. You follow his gaze, straining your eyes, trying to discern what he sees. Miles away, barely a smudge against the pale sky, a thin column of smoke rises. It's faint, almost invisible, but steady, purposeful. It's too distant to be a campfire, too defined to be a natural mist. It signifies something more. Then, to the west, where the forest begins to thin and the land rolls into gentler hills, a faint glint catches the newly risen sun. It's a tiny, almost insignificant sparkle, quickly lost, then found again, revealing itself as the reflection off a distant, formidable stone structure. You squint, your eyes aching, trying to resolve the distant image. Slowly, painstakingly, the outlines sharpen in your mind's eye. High turrets, formidable battlements, a towering keep. It's a castle, not one you recognize from your limited knowledge of these lands, but undeniably a fortress of power. And from this height, you can clearly see the dark, winding road that snakes from its gates, disappearing into the vast green expanse, a road that eventually must pass through the heart of Sherwood itself. The cold wind continues to whip around you, but a new kind of chill permeates your awareness. From this vantage point, you realize the fight isn't just about small skirmishes, hidden camps, or stolen birds. It's part of something far grander, far more encompassing. The forest, once a refuge, now reveals itself as a vital artery, a strategic pathway through which the power of the kingdom flows, connecting the distant strongholds to the vulnerable roads. You stand at the edge of two worlds, the wild, free greenwood and the structured, oppressive might of feudal lords. And from this dizzying height, you understand that your small actions, your choices, are not isolated, but are tiny, crucial ripples in a much larger, relentless current. A current that demands your continued vigilance, your unwavering courage, and your absolute commitment to the ongoing, sprawling struggle for freedom within this living, breathing landscape. The acrid smell of burning peat and stale ale hits you first, a sharp, unpleasant assault on your nostrils, completely distinct from the clean, earthy scents of the deep forest. It's carried on a biting wind, a frigid current that cuts through your worn cloak, chilling you to the bone. You're pressed low, deep within a shallow ditch on the outskirts of what appears to be a small, fortified village, its crude palisade walls barely visible through the sparse, skeletal trees. The ground beneath you is hard, frozen, and uneven, digging into your ribs with every subtle shift of your weight. A dull, rhythmic thudding vibrates through the cold earth, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer echoing faintly, even at this late hour. Interspersed with that, you catch the muffled shouts of men, the occasional whimper of a dog, and the unmistakable, boisterous laughter spilling from what must be a tavern. It's a cacophony of human activity, overwhelming after the profound silence of Sherwood, a sensory overload that makes your head ache with its raw intrusion. Beside you, the younger companion, nimble and silent as a fox, melts into the deeper shadows of a thick-trunked oak. He points, a single, precise finger indicating a small, squat building just beyond the palisade, a structure with a single, unlit window. It's the miller's house, you realize, its large water wheel a silent, motionless shadow against the faint glimmer of a hidden stream. This is your target, your point of entry, a place where whispers might be found, where information often gathers like dust. You begin to move, a slow, painstaking crawl across the rough, open ground, each movement agonizingly deliberate. The cold seeps through your clothes, chilling your hands and knees as you navigate patches of thorny weeds and frozen mud. You feel the grit of dried earth against your palms, the rough texture of sparse, winter-dead grass scraping against your face. Every distant sound makes you freeze, your heart hammering against your ribs, convinced that the slightest rustle of your tunic will betray your presence. A sudden, sharp beam of light slices through the darkness, sweeping across the palisade walls, momentarily illuminating the crude wooden spikes at its top. It's a guard patrol, a flicker of a lantern held high, its beam moving with slow, practiced rhythm. You press yourself even deeper into the frozen earth, holding your breath, your muscles screaming in protest at the absolute stillness. You can hear the heavy, measured tread of their boots, the faint jingle of their armor, the low, guttural murmur of their voices as they pass by, agonizingly close, just on the other side of the ditch. The very air around you feels charged, thick with the electric current of near discovery. The light passes, the sounds recede, and you allow yourself a shuddering, silent breath. The metallic taste of adrenaline is sharp in your mouth, a potent reminder of the razor's edge you walk. You continue your crawl, finally reaching the cold, rough stones of the miller's house. The window, dark and uninviting, is slightly ajar, a faint, almost imperceptible sliver of darkness along its frame. You reach up, your fingers numb, pushing against the cold, rough wood, feeling the delicate resistance of dried leaves caught in the frame. As the window creaks open with an agonizingly slow, soft groan, the smell of flour, yeasty and warm, washes over you, mingling strangely with the cold night air. You slip inside, a silent shadow swallowed by the deeper gloom of the dwelling, the soft scurry of unseen mice a fleeting welcome. You realize with a chilling clarity that the true battle isn't always fought with bows and blades, but with unseen steps, with whispered breaths, and with the courage to seek the truth, even when it hides behind the most ordinary of village walls. This infiltration isn't just about gaining entry. The air inside the miller's house is a thick, still blanket, heavy with the pervasive, slightly sweet dust of fine milled flour. It coats your tongue, tickles the back of your throat, and seems to dull the very edges of sound. Beneath that you catch the faint, musty aroma of old wood, a subtle dampness and something else. A lingering trace of stale bread, perhaps, but also a sharp metallic note almost like rust that prickles at your nose. You're plunged into an absolute, suffocating darkness, a profound blindness that strips away your sight, leaving your other senses screaming with hyper-awareness. You move with agonizing slowness, each step a careful, deliberate negotiation with the unseen floorboards. Your arms are outstretched, hands splayed, probing the blackness before you. The rough, uneven surface of the wooden floor is cold beneath your worn boots, occasionally yielding with a soft, ominous creak that makes your heart leap into your throat. You freeze, every muscle tensed, listening. Only the distant, muffled sounds of the village, a dog's faint bark, the whisper of the wind, filter through the thick walls. Your own breathing is ragged, impossibly loud in your ears, a frantic rhythm that echoes the panicked thrum of your pulse. Your fingertips brush against rough, cold plaster, then the smooth, worn surface of a wooden table. You navigate around it, your body brushing against a low-hanging sack that releases a puff of flour dust, making you cough, a sound you desperately try to stifle against your arm. The air grows even thicker, more suffocating. You feel the rough weave of coarse cloth, the cold, smooth texture of stoneware jars, the unexpected, delicate touch of a cobweb against your cheek that makes you flinch. A silent, internal shriek. The vulnerability of being blind in an unknown space is a heavy, almost crushing weight. You edge along a wall, feeling for any irregularity, any recess, any sign that this isn't just a simple, honest miller's home. Your fingers, numb with cold, trace the lines of a sturdy wooden cupboard, then drift lower, finding a section of floorboard that feels subtly different, slightly raised. You press down with your foot tentatively and hear a faint, almost imperceptible shift. You kneel, carefully inserting your dagger's tip into the narrow seam. With a soft, barely audible sigh of wood, a small, square section of the floor lifts. Beneath it, a hidden cavity. You reach in, your fingers closing around something cold and metallic, then something else softer, more yielding. You pull it out slowly, carefully. It's a small, heavy iron strongbox, tightly bound with a thin leather strap, and nestled beside it, a stack of brittle, rolled parchments, their edges crisp and dry. The metallic tang in the air suddenly makes sense. This isn't a miller's hidden savings. This feels clandestine, secretive. A sudden, sharp scurry of mice in the corner, amplified by the suffocating silence, makes you flinch, sending a jolt of adrenaline through you. You quickly resecure the floorboard, forcing the sounds of discovery back into their hidden place. Your heart still pounds, but it's now a rhythm of potent discovery, a realization that the truest battles are often fought not with steel, but with information, with the delicate, dangerous threads of secrets found in the deepest, most unexpected shadows, whispering truths that could shake the very foundations of power. The cold, biting air outside the miller's window is a shocking slap after the dusty warmth within, instantly purging the taste of flour from your mouth and replacing it with the sharp, metallic tang of the lingering night. You push yourself out, a silent shadow sliding back into the deeper gloom, the heavy strongbox and brittle parchments clutched tightly against your chest. The raw, frozen ground bites at your hands as you drop, rolling silently into the shallow ditch, feeling the painful scrape of pebbles against your forearms. The younger companion is there, waiting, a still, dark form beneath the skeletal branches of an oak. His eyes, quick and assessing, meet yours in the pre-dawn darkness. There's no question, no sound, just a subtle shift of his weight, a silent acknowledgement of the successful retrieval. He gestures with a slight incline of his head, indicating the path back to the hideout, a silent command for immediate, swift retreat. The rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer from the village still echoes faintly, a persistent reminder of the world you've just infiltrated, the risks you've taken. You move with renewed urgency, a blend of stealth and purpose. The cold wind whips around you, a constant, chilling companion, but the objects in your grasp feel like a burning coal, pulsing with untold secrets. The journey back through the winding, familiar paths of the forest is a blur of heightened senses. The rustle of unseen creatures, the sudden snap of a distant twig, the whisper of the wind through the vast, indifferent canopy. Each step is calculated, measured, putting distance between you and the lingering threat of discovery, drawing you closer to the sanctuary of the hidden hollow. As you finally slip through the camouflaged entrance, feeling the familiar brush of interwoven branches against your skin, the warm, earthy scent of the hideout is a profound relief. The flickering light of the concealed lantern casts welcoming, dancing shadows, chasing away the oppressive gloom of the outside world. Your companions are gathered, their faces etched with patient expectation, their eyes immediately falling on the bundle you carry. The weathered man, their leader, offers a silent nod, an unspoken command to reveal your findings. You kneel before the crude wooden table, carefully placing the strongbox and the rolled parchments upon its rough surface. The young companion quickly closes the hideout entrance, securing the camouflage, plunging the space into a softer, more intimate glow. The stoic woman moves closer, her gaze intense, her presence a silent pressure. The heavy silence in the hollow is broken only by the soft crackle of a small, hidden fire and the subtle shifts of breathing. With deliberate movements, you untie the thin leather strap binding the strongbox, the dry, brittle leather almost crumbling under your touch. The lid creaks open with a soft sigh of ancient metal, revealing not more gold, but a collection of sealed documents, small wax impressions bearing the familiar wolf's head crest. Then you reach for the rolled parchments, carefully unrolling the brittle, yellowed paper onto the table. The ancient scent of dried ink of old paper fills the small space, carrying the weight of centuries. Your eyes, along with those of your companions, fix on the script, the meticulously penned lines of dense, unfamiliar text. It's not a simple tally or a ledger. It's a complex, legalistic script filled with dates and names, titles and decrees. The weathered man leans forward, his brow furrowed in concentration, his finger tracing a line of script, his lips moving silently as he begins to unravel the tightly woven words. He gestures to a specific section, his finger pointing to a name, a date, a place, then makes a sharp, decisive gesture with his hand, a silent curse. A heavy, palpable tension fills the air, a different kind of burden than the gold. This is something darker, more insidious. The brittle parchment crackles softly beneath your fingertips, a dry, almost dusty sound in the hushed confines of the hideout. The air, heavy with the scent of old paper and ancient ink, carries a subtle, musty tang that prickles at your nose. You're leaning over the rough wooden table, your gaze fixed on the dense, unfamiliar script, illuminated by the flickering, warm glow of the hidden lantern. The intricate calligraphy, elegant yet indecipherable at first glance, feels like a code, a tightly locked secret waiting to be unraveled. The weathered man sits opposite you, his brow furrowed in deep concentration, his finger slowly tracing the lines of text. His lips move silently, a constant, focused murmur as he sounds out the archaic words, piecing together their meaning. The heavy silence in the hollow is broken only by his soft, almost imperceptible whisper, the gentle rustle of parchment as he turns a page, and the soft crackle of the small, hidden fire. You feel the collective weight of the room's attention, every eye fixed on the task of decoding the hidden truths. You lean closer, trying to make sense of the intricate loops and flourishes. The words are alien, formal, filled with legalistic jargon that feels deliberately obtuse. Your mind strains, trying to grasp the meaning, feeling a growing frustration at your inability to fully comprehend the implications of these vital documents. You catch glimpses of dates, unfamiliar place names, the wolf's head crest appearing repeatedly, a chilling signature of the authority behind these decrees. Each appearance of the symbol sends a small, cold shiver down your spine. The stoic woman, usually silent, now points with a steady finger to a particular section of one parchment, her eyes sharp, demanding attention. The weathered man follows her gaze, his expression hardening. He lets out a low, guttural sigh, a sound heavy with weariness and a growing anger. His hand clenches into a fist, tapping gently, almost rhythmically against the table, a silent drumbeat of frustration and grim understanding. He then sweeps his hand across the documents, a gesture that encompasses the full, devastating scope of their findings. The younger companion, who had been restless, now sits utterly still, his eyes wide with a slow, dawning comprehension as the weathered man gestures, connecting one document to another, then another. You catch fragmented words, now discernible through context and repetition: levy, tithe, eviction, foreclosure, seizure. The truth begins to coalesce, stark and brutal. These are not merely administrative records. They are instruments of oppression, carefully crafted decrees designed to strip the common folk of their livelihoods, their homes, their very dignity. They are the paper chains binding the people of Sherwood to the distant castle, the cold, calculated blueprint of injustice. A heavy anger begins to simmer deep within you, a hot, bitter taste rising in your throat. This isn't the impulsive fury of battle, but a slow, burning rage, fueled by the cold, impersonal cruelty revealed in these neatly penned words. You see the faces of the villagers you helped, the small, hidden pouches of gold, the silent desperation in their eyes, and you realize the profound, insidious reach of this bureaucratic tyranny. The fight isn't just against armored men. It's against the very system, the very words that enable their power. You glance at your companions. Their faces, illuminated by the flickering lantern, are etched with a shared, resolute grimness. There's no panic, no despair, but a quiet, unwavering determination. The weathered man gathers the parchments, rolling them carefully, securing them with a new, stronger leather strap. He looks at you, his gaze steady, profound, then at the assembled group. Without a word, he nods, a silent, powerful acknowledgement that the era of mere survival is over. The parchment, brittle and cool beneath your fingertips, still carries the faint, dry scent of ancient ink, but now it's overlaid with a sharper, almost metallic tang, the faint aroma of newly sharpened charcoal. You lean over the rough wooden table, the dim, flickering light of the concealed lantern casting long, dancing shadows across the unfolded maps. These aren't just crude sketches of trails. They are meticulous renderings, crisscrossed with lines, marked with symbols, revealing the intricate web of roads, villages, and watchful castles that now define your world. The weight of these documents, their secrets, feels heavier than any gold. The weathered man, his face a study in grim concentration, works with a quiet intensity. He gestures with a precise finger, tracing a winding path from the distant castle you saw from the peak, through various hamlets, and into the very heart of Sherwood. He then places a small, sharpened stone, dark and ominous, on a specific crossroads marked on the map. Your eyes follow his movements, understanding dawning with each silent placement. This isn't about random ambushes anymore. This is strategy. This is war. You feel the rough grain of the wooden table pressing against your forearms as you lean in, studying the details. The lines on the map are not just roads. They are arteries of control, pathways for the very oppression you seek to undo. You see the places where you delivered the coins, the small, isolated dwellings, now appearing as vulnerable dots on this grander scheme. The younger companion, usually restless, is utterly still, his gaze darting between the map and the weathered man, absorbing every nuance, every unspoken directive. His brow is furrowed, a new maturity etched into his features as he grapples with the scale of the plans. The stoic woman, her eyes sharp and unwavering, points to a particular choke point, a narrow bridge crossing a winding river. She makes a swift, decisive gesture with her hand, indicating a swift attack, a decisive blow. Her movements are efficient, direct, a clear vision of the unfolding action. You can feel the cold logic of their tactical minds at work, each contribution a vital piece of a complex puzzle. This isn't just discussion. It's a silent symphony of strategic thought, honed by hard-won experience. The air in the hollow is thick with this unspoken tension, the quiet hum of minds at work. There's a palpable shift, a hardening of resolve in the small group. The initial fear and desperation have been tempered, reshaped into something colder, more focused, more dangerous. You hear the soft scratch of charcoal as the weathered man adds a new mark, a new objective to the map. He then looks at you, his gaze piercing, a silent question, a silent invitation to contribute. He points to a section of the map where the forest is particularly dense, near a known patrol route. You trace the path with your own finger, feeling the rough texture of the parchment. You remember the sounds of the approaching soldiers, the specific rhythm of their heavy boots, the way the mist clung to the ground. You indicate a specific cluster of ancient, hollowed-out trees, a perfect vantage point for a lookout, a place where sound would be muffled and escape routes plentiful. The weathered man nods slowly, a rare, almost imperceptible curve of his lips. Your knowledge, born of fear and observation, is now integrated into their plan, a vital component of the strategy. The silence returns, heavier than before, filled now with the weight of conscious choice. The map, with its stark lines and ominous markers, is no longer just a piece of paper. It's a living document, a blueprint for freedom, etched with the hopes and fears of those who dwell in Sherwood. You realize with a profound, sobering clarity that freedom is never given. It is meticulously, painstakingly, and dangerously planned, piece by strategic piece. The biting cold of the river current, only inches below your concealed position, seeps through the damp earth, chilling your very core. You're pressed low, deep within a dense thicket of willow branches that overhang the narrow, wooden bridge. The rough bark of the hidden tree scrapes against your cheek, gritty and cold, smelling faintly of decay and the relentless river. The rhythmic splash of the swift-flowing water against the bridge pilings is a constant, hypnotic sound, a dull roar that almost masks the frantic thrumming of your own heart. Beside you, the weathered man is a still, dark shadow, his longbow drawn, the string vibrating with the barely contained power of his breath. His eyes, fixed on the distant bend in the road, reflect the dull, pale light of the emerging moon, sharp and unwavering. You feel the subtle shift in the air, a collective tension building among your hidden companions, a profound silence that speaks louder than any command. The scent of damp moss, of fresh earth, and the faint, metallic tang of the river fills your nostrils, a primal perfume of vigilance. Then you hear it, the distant, unmistakable asterisk clop 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 of hooves on packed earth, growing steadily louder. It's followed by the low rumble of a heavy cart, the groan of its wooden wheels echoing off the surrounding trees, amplified by the still, night air. Your muscles tense, coiled, and ready. This isn't a small patrol. This is a determined transport, likely carrying more of those insidious documents, or perhaps the very oppressors themselves. A wave of cold resolve washes over you, steadying your trembling hands. The sound swells, closer now, filling the entire stretch of riverbank. You can feel the vibration of the horses' hooves, the cart's heavy passage, through the very ground beneath you. A torch flares at the head of the convoy, casting flickering, erratic shadows that dance across the trees. 3 mounted knights, their helms glinting faintly, lead a single, heavily laden wagon, its canvas cover taut, its shape formidable. Their progress is slow, deliberate, the horses' breath pluming white in the chill air. A sudden, sharp whistle pierces the night from deep within the woods ahead, the signal. In the next breath, the forest erupts. Arrows, dark streaks against the pale moonlight, hiss from the trees, finding their marks with sickening thuds. The lead knight cries out, tumbling from his saddle with a heavy clang of armor. The horses, startled, rear and whinny, throwing the wagon into a violent lurch. You release your own arrow, a practiced, fluid motion, feeling the swift recoil of the bow, watching its dark flight towards a soldier struggling to control the panicked horses. Chaos erupts on the bridge. Your companions, a blur of green and shadow, surge from the undergrowth. The younger man, agile and quick, scrambles onto the wagon, tearing at the canvas cover with a practiced hand. The stoic woman, her movements precise and deadly, engages a knight, her dagger a flash of silver against his heavy mail, deflecting a blow with a surprising agility. You knock another arrow, your breath held, aiming for a soldier who has drawn his sword, his face contorted in a mix of confusion and rage. The asterisk thwack asterisk of your arrow hitting its mark is visceral, brutally real. He stumbles, clutching at his shoulder, his sword clattering to the bridge with a loud clang. You see the glint of metal, the desperate parries, the determined thrusts. The air is thick with the metallic tang of blood, the desperate shouts of men, and the raw, earthy scent of churned mud. The cold current of the river rushes below, indifferent to the sudden, brutal struggle above. As the last soldier falls, silence descends, abrupt and heavy, punctuated only by the nervous snorting of the horses and the frantic splash of the river. The fight is over. Your longbow feels suddenly light, almost weightless in your trembling hand. The sharp, metallic tang of adrenaline is still raw on your tongue, mingling with the acrid scent of spent effort and the unsettling, unmistakable odor of fresh blood. The ringing in your ears slowly begins to subside, replaced by the deep, pervasive quiet of the forest, a silence that now feels heavy, laden with the recent violence. Your longbow, still clutched in a white-knuckled grip, feels impossibly heavy, a dead weight after the chaotic rush. Your arms tremble uncontrollably, a delayed reaction to the sudden, brutal outburst of combat. You lower the bow, your eyes wide, scanning the scene of the ambush. The wagon, listing sharply, its front wheel shattered, lies askew in a tangle of broken branches and churned mud. The horses, unharnessed by your swift companions, are already being led away into the deeper woods, their hooves splashing quietly in a nearby stream. Three figures, once formidable soldiers in mail armor, now lie still and broken amidst the undergrowth, their helms askew, their weapons scattered. The vivid green of your companions' tunics flashes between the trees as they move, quick and efficient, securing the perimeter, their faces grim but resolute. A profound silence settles once more, deeper than before, broken only by the soft, almost reverent rustle of leaves as your companions finish their task. The weathered man, their leader, approaches the disabled wagon, his gaze fixed on the heavy, canvas-covered bulk. He gestures to you, a silent invitation to examine the prize, to finally uncover the secrets held within those marked crates. Your heart begins to beat faster again, a new kind of anticipation replacing the fading fear. You move towards the wagon, your steps cautious, almost hesitant, picking your way through the disturbed earth. The air here is colder, heavier, charged with the lingering memory of conflict. The thick canvas tarp, lashed down with heavy ropes, feels rough beneath your fingers as you reach for it. You work quickly, alongside another companion, untying the stubborn knots, pulling at the coarse fabric. The wood of the crates beneath feels cold and unyielding. As the tarp finally falls away, pushed aside by the collective effort, the true nature of the cargo is revealed. It's not gold, not jewels, not weapons. Instead, row upon row of small, meticulously crafted wooden cages, each one perfectly sized to house a single, tiny, panicked creature. And within each cage, a small, terrified bird, its feathers dull, its eyes wide with a desperate, unseeing fear. These aren't common forest birds. Their plumage is too vibrant, too exotic, their forms too delicate. And amongst the cages, nestled securely, are several larger, heavier chests, bound with iron, clearly filled with coins, glinting dully in the emerging dawn light. Your companions exchange quick, astonished glances. The weathered man's eyes narrow, a slow, understanding nod passing between him and the stoic woman. The younger man lets out a soft, almost imperceptible whistle of surprise. This isn't just a simple robbery. It's a trade in living things, a cruel and elaborate scheme hidden behind a show of military force. And the wealth, the sheer volume of coin, suggests a grander purpose, a deeper corruption. You realize, with a sudden, chilling clarity, that the true battles of Sherwood aren't always fought with steel, but often against the silent, insidious commodification of life itself, against those who would trap beauty and freedom for profit. The weight of this discovery settles heavily, a new, unexpected burden on your already weary soul. The rich, savory smell of roasting venison, mingled with the earthy scent of pine needles and the deep, pervasive warmth of a crackling fire, wraps around you like a heavy, comforting blanket. It's a primal aroma that makes your stomach rumble, a stark contrast to the metallic tang of fear and blood that still feels too recent. You sit cross-legged on a patch of soft, dry moss, deep within the hidden hollow, the flickering firelight casting dancing shadows on the rough rock walls. The air, though still cool, holds a palpable sense of peace, a profound exhale after the furious tension of the ambush. Your fingers, still aching from the longbow's recoil and the exertion of the fight, easily tear a piece of the tender, perfectly cooked meat. The first bite is a revelation, juicy, flavorful, a warmth that spreads instantly through your chilled body, chasing away the last vestiges of the night's cold. You savor the taste, letting it linger on your tongue, a tangible reward for risks taken, for battles fought. It's more than just food. It's sustenance, comfort, a profound reminder of life's simple, deep pleasures. Around you, your companions are transformed. The grim lines of battle have softened, replaced by expressions of quiet contentment, of weary satisfaction. The weathered man, usually so stoic, leans back against the rock face, a rare, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips as he watches the flames. The younger companion, who moved with such fierce agility during the ambush, now gnaws on a bone with childlike abandon, his eyes bright with a satisfied hunger. The stoic woman, usually vigilant, allows her shoulders to relax, her gaze lingering on the crackling fire, a subtle, almost invisible ease settling over her features. This isn't just a meal. It's a shared ritual, a silent celebration of survival and success. The sounds in the hollow are now gentle, the soft hiss and pop of the fire, the quiet tearing of meat, the occasional contented sigh. No hurried whispers, no frantic glances towards the entrance. The camouflage, skillfully woven, holds its secrets, ensuring your hard-won peace. You reach for a skin of cool, clear water, washing down the rich venison, feeling a deep, cleansing satisfaction spread through your being. Every ache, every scrape, every muscle protest seems to recede into the background, eclipsed by the profound sense of belonging, of safety, that permeates this hidden space. You watch the flickering flames, their warmth painting patterns on the rock, illuminating the faces of your new comrades. They are a patchwork of resilience, of defiance, each carrying their own untold stories, their own burdens, but united now by shared experience, by a common cause. You are no longer alone, no longer a mere survivor adrift in the wild. You are part of this unique, defiant family, forged in the crucible of Sherwood's unforgiving heart. As the venison is finished and the fire slowly begins to die down, casting longer, softer shadows, a comfortable silence settles over the group. You feel the deep thrum of contentment, the profound peace that comes only after facing true danger and emerging victorious. This isn't a permanent reprieve, you know that. The fight continues. But in this moment, surrounded by those who fought beside you, with the taste of victory still lingering, you realize that true strength isn't just in the battle, but in the ability to find and cherish these fleeting, earned moments of peace, to gather warmth and purpose, ready for whatever hidden paths and fresh challenges the ancient, whispering forest of Sherwood will inevitably unveil. The faint, musky scent of wild boar, pungent and earthy, cuts through the damp morning air, a primal warning that sharpens every nerve ending. It's a smell you wouldn't have noticed weeks ago, but now your senses, honed by countless days in the greenwood, register it with immediate visceral clarity. You're pressed low, deep within a tangle of dew-laden ferns, your breath held, feeling the cold, wet fronds brush against your cheek. The chill of the pre-dawn forest still bites, but the thrill of the hunt, a quiet, ancient instinct, begins to hum in your veins. Beside you, the weathered man, a phantom in the gloom, moves with an almost terrifying silence. His gaze, fixed on a barely perceptible disturbance in the leaf litter ahead, is intense, unblinking. He points with a single, deliberate finger, indicating a faint, cloven hoofprint, partially obscured by a fallen branch. It's massive, much larger than any common pig, hinting at a beast of formidable size and power. A subtle vibration of his hand communicates a warning: caution, respect, danger. You follow his lead, your own movements a practiced imitation of his stealth. Each step is a careful negotiation with the treacherous forest floor, avoiding dry twigs, stepping only on moss or soft earth. Your eyes, once blind to the intricate tapestry of the undergrowth, now pick out 1,000 subtle clues. A freshly disturbed patch of mud, a single coarse hair caught on a thorny bush, the almost invisible scratch mark on the bark of a low-hanging oak where the creature brushed past. You can almost feel the boar's passage, a ghost-like impression left in its wake. The chase is slow, arduous, a test of patience more than speed. The air grows warmer as the sun begins its reluctant climb, sending shafts of golden light piercing through the dense canopy, dappling the forest floor in shifting patterns. The sounds of the awakening woods emerge. The cheerful chirp of a robin, the distant caw of a crow, the gentle rustle of leaves as a squirrel scrambles up a trunk. Yet beneath it all, your ears are attuned to the fainter, more deliberate sounds of your quarry's movement. The distant snap of a twig, the faint grunt of exertion, the soft crunch of heavy hooves on earth. You round a massive, ancient oak, its hollow trunk a silent sentinel. The scent of boar is suddenly overwhelming, closer now, a powerful, musky presence that makes your nostrils flare. You drop to one knee, longbow already drawn, an arrow nocked, its flint tip a dark, silent promise. The weathered man, a breath behind you, is equally poised, his own bow an extension of his will. The world shrinks to this single, primal moment, hunter and hunted, suspended in a breathless, eternal dance. Through a small gap in the foliage, you see it. A colossal wild boar, its bristly hide a dark, formidable mass against the green, its curving tusks gleaming ominously. It's rooting at the base of a fallen log, utterly absorbed in its task, seemingly oblivious to your presence. The sheer power of the beast is awe-inspiring, a raw, untamed force of nature. It snorts, a deep, guttural sound, then resumes its relentless search for sustenance, its keen senses focused on the earth. You take a deep, controlled breath, holding it, feeling the tremble in your arms. Your eye aligns with the arrow, the target filling your vision. This isn't just about food. It's about a profound respect, an ancient connection, a vital balance that binds hunter and hunted in the heart of this ancient wood. And in that frozen moment of profound stillness, on the precipice of action, you realize that the forest doesn't just demand your survival. It demands your participation, your understanding, your absolute presence, showing you that life itself is a constant, intricate act of both seeking and yielding, a delicate, beautiful interplay of power and surrender. The soft crunch of leaf litter under your boot suddenly gives way to something hard, smooth, and impossibly cold, a jarring texture that sends a shiver up your leg. You pause, instinctively, your weight shifting back as your foot registers the alien surface. It's too regular to be natural stone, too wide to be a root. The air here, in this deeper, denser part of Sherwood, is thick with the damp, earthy scent of ancient soil and decaying wood, untouched by the sun's direct rays, carrying a subtle, metallic hint you can't quite place. You carefully shift your weight, bending low, and begin to push aside the heavy, wet layers of fallen leaves and moss. The cold, Damp earth yields reluctantly, releasing a richer, more pungent smell of deep-seated decay. Beneath the organic blanket, a vast expanse of dark, polished stone slowly reveals itself. It's a paving, meticulously laid, impossibly ancient, its surface worn smooth by countless seasons, countless unseen passages. This isn't a natural formation. This is the work of long-forgotten hands, a silent testament to a hidden past. Your companions, a few paces behind you, have also frozen. The weathered man, usually so quick to react, stands utterly still, his gaze fixed on the emerging stone with an almost reverent awe. The younger companion lets out a soft, almost imperceptible whistle of surprise, his eyes wide, mirroring your own disbelief. The stoic woman simply nods slowly, her gaze sweeping the surrounding, undisturbed woods, as if confirming the sanctity of the place. A profound silence descends, broken only by the gentle drip of water from unseen leaves and the frantic thrum of your own pulse. You kneel, running your hand over the smooth, icy surface of the stone. It feels impossibly old, radiating a deep, pervasive cold that seems to seep into your bones. As you clear more debris, you realize this isn't just a patch of paving. It's part of a larger structure, partially buried, its true form obscured by centuries of growth. A faint, almost entirely eroded inscription, a series of swirling, unfamiliar symbols, becomes visible along one edge, hinting at a language lost to time, a message intended for forgotten eyes. The weathered man slowly approaches, his long staff tapping softly against the ancient stone. He gestures downwards, then sweeps his hand in a wide arc, encompassing the immense, gnarled trees that stand like silent sentinels around this forgotten space. You follow his gaze, seeing how the roots of these colossal oaks and elms have grown around and over the stones, embracing them, slowly reclaiming them, their vast, powerful forms like living monuments to the slow, relentless march of time. The forest has kept this secret well, burying it deep within its green heart. You continue to clear the leaves, now working with a quiet, almost archaeological fervor. More of the paving is revealed, leading to a section where the stone appears to rise, forming what might be the base of an ancient wall, or perhaps a series of steps leading downwards into the earth. The air here feels different, colder, heavier, charged with the whispers of ages. You can almost feel the presence of those who built it, who walked these stones, their forgotten lives echoing faintly in the profound silence. Suddenly, your fingers brush against something embedded in the earth between two large paving stones. It's cold, metallic, and oddly shaped. You dig carefully, pushing aside the ancient soil until you unearth it. It's a small, intricately carved medallion, fashioned from tarnished bronze, its surface etched with the same swirling, unfamiliar symbols as the paving. It feels smooth, heavy, and strangely warm in your palm, a sudden, tangible link to an impossibly distant past. You hold it up, turning it in the filtered light, feeling its ancient weight. The weathered man takes it from you, his eyes studying the symbols with an intense, almost spiritual concentration. The sharp, woody scent of sawdust and fresh-cut timber, mingling with the sweet, almost sickly smell of ale and roasted pork, assaults your senses the moment you step into the bustling village fairground. It's a riot of noise and color, a stark contrast to the quiet, muted greens of Sherwood. Laughter, shouted greetings, the squawk of geese, and the insistent rhythm of a fife and drum band crash over you, an overwhelming symphony of human life. The ground beneath your worn boots is churned earth, packed hard by countless feet and sticky in places with spilled ale. Your cloak, pulled low over your face, offers meager concealment from the curious glances. You make your way through the throng, jostling past sturdy yeomen, laughing maidens, and wide-eyed children, all drawn by the promise of spectacle. Your eyes, accustomed to discerning subtle movements in the deep forest, quickly pick out the heart of the activity. The archery butts. A roar goes up as an arrow thuds into the outer ring of a distant target. The archers, a mix of village lads, seasoned hunters and a few imposing figures in the livery of local landowners line up, their bows gleaming, their quivers full. A knot of sheriff's guards stands near the judging post, their mail shining, their faces bored yet watchful. You instinctively pull your hood lower, feeling a prickle of unease. Your longbow, usually your constant companion, is hidden, replaced by a borrowed, less distinctive shortbow, lighter and unfamiliar in your hand. You've blended in, or so you hope, a lone shadow in a sea of faces. Then you see him. A tall, broad-shouldered man, his green tunic a shade darker than your own, moves with an easy confidence, his own longbow a graceful extension of his arm. The crowd murmurs, a ripple of respect, as he takes his stance. His arrow flies, a swift, silent blur, burying itself in the very heart of the target. A cheer erupts, genuinely admiring. A rival, perhaps, or another who walks the greenwood path. A call goes up for the next archer. Your heart gives a sudden, unexpected lurch. It's your turn, or so the weathered man had indicated. A test, a demonstration of skill without revealing too much. You step forward, feeling the eyes of the crowd, the lingering gaze of the sheriff's men, settle on your disguised form. The shortbow feels awkward, lighter than your familiar weapon, but the ingrained motions take over. You nock an arrow, feel the familiar draw of the string, the slight tremble in your muscles. You breathe, you focus, you release. The arrow flies, a swift, unexpected blur. For a moment a profound silence falls, the crowd holding its breath. Then a gasp. Your arrow has split the shaft of the last archer's arrow, embedding itself directly into the bullseye. A ripple of astonishment, then a roar of approval, explodes from the crowd. Even the sheriff's men exchange surprised glances, their bored expressions replaced by sharp, sudden interest. You nod, a slight, almost imperceptible acknowledgement, and quickly melt back into the anonymity of the crowd, feeling the familiar warmth of pride, quickly followed by the chilling realization. In this world, the quiet display of exceptional skill, no matter how carefully hidden, can carve a path of both admiration and dangerous, unwanted scrutiny, changing you from a forgotten shadow into a marked figure. The sudden, explosive cheer of the crowd, so recently a wave of validation, now feels like a spotlight, harsh and unforgiving, pinning you in place. The scent of roasted meat and sweet ale, once inviting, turns sickly in your nostrils as the festive energy curdles into something far more dangerous. You can feel the prickle of unseen eyes, not just those of the impressed villagers, but the sharper, more predatory gazes of the sheriff's guards, their interest no longer casual but acutely focused. Your own heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic, desperate rhythm that seems impossibly loud in your ears, threatening to betray your disguise. You try to melt back into the throng, to become just another face in the chaotic tapestry of the fair. But the crowd, moments ago a comforting blur of anonymity, now seems to part around you, creating a subtle, unnerving void. Every step feels deliberate, heavy, weighted with the newfound scrutiny. The laughter of the revelers, the insistent rhythm of the fife and drum, no longer blend into a cheerful din. Instead, they feel oppressive, cacophonous, amplifying your every movement, every hurried breath. The dust kicked up by dancing feet suddenly tastes like fear. You feel a hand on your arm, not a grab, not aggressive, but firm, steady, and utterly unexpected. Your entire body tenses, ready to spring, to fight, to flee. You glance down, then up. It's the tall, broad-shouldered archer, the man whose arrow you split, his green tunic a familiar, earthy shade. His eyes, usually bright with competitive spirit, are now shadowed, watchful, and carry a clear, urgent message you understand without a single word. Follow me. Now. He doesn't pull you, doesn't rush, but moves with a quiet, undeniable purpose, weaving through the densest parts of the fair. You follow, your body a rigid conduit of suppressed panic, desperately trying to match his effortless fluidity. He steers you away from the central thoroughfares, towards the edges of the fairground, where the stalls are sparser, the crowds thinner, the shadows deeper. You feel the press of bodies, the rough brush of cloaks, the accidental jostle of a drunkard, each contact a moment of terrifying vulnerability. Your mind screams for the open freedom of the forest, for the silence of the greenwood. The sounds of the fair begin to recede, slowly, replaced by the creak of distant wagons, the lowing of tethered cattle, the faint, persistent chill of the air beyond the immediate warmth of the crowds. You slip past the last row of stalls, smelling the lingering scent of stale bread and packed earth, and find yourselves in a narrow, unlit alleyway behind a blacksmith's forge. The air here is sharp with the metallic tang of iron, cooled by the night, and carries the faint, familiar aroma of horse manure. He pauses, his back pressed against the cold, rough stone wall of the forge, his eyes scanning the alley's entrance, ensuring no one has followed. He then glances at you, a quick, assessing look that seems to acknowledge the shared danger, the unspoken alliance. Without a word, he points towards a low, crumbling section of the village palisade wall at the far end of the alley, a breach barely visible in the profound gloom. It's a silent command, a clear path to escape, a hand offered in the suffocating trap of the village. You nod, a sharp, decisive movement of your head, your throat too tight to offer even a whisper of gratitude. Your heart still pounds, but it's no longer a frantic drum of fear. It's a powerful, exhilarating rhythm of shared purpose, of unexpected kinship. You realize with a profound, sobering clarity that sometimes the greatest dangers aren't faced alone. The rough, splintered edge of the broken palisade tears at your cloak as you squeeze through the narrow breach, the harsh wood scraping against your shoulder with an almost audible groan. The sharp, acrid scent of stale village air, mingled with the lingering smell of horse manure and damp earth, clings to you. But the moment your feet touch the soft, yielding soil beyond the wall, a profound wave of relief washes over you. The cold, crisp air of the deep forest, clean and sharp with the scent of pine and damp leaves, fills your lungs, a welcome balm after the suffocating press of the fair ground. Beside you, the tall archer, your unexpected ally, moves with an effortless grace that belies his broad frame. He doesn't look back, doesn't pause, simply melts into the deeper shadows of the sparse tree line, his form dissolving into the gloom as if he were born of the night itself. You follow, mimicking his fluid movements, your boots finding purchase on the uneven ground with a newfound, almost instinctive silence. The frantic drumbeat of your heart, so loud moments ago in the village, begins to slow, replaced by the steady, powerful rhythm of your escape. The sounds of the fair, once a chaotic symphony, now recede into a faint, distant hum, swallowed by the immense, quiet presence of the forest. Only the whisper of the wind through the bare branches, the rustle of leaves underfoot, and the soft, insistent gurgle of a nearby, unseen stream break the profound silence. You can feel the chilling dampness of the night air on your skin, the pervasive cold that promises a long, arduous journey back to the hideout. But even that cold feels less threatening now, a familiar companion rather than a hostile force. You move in perfect, unspoken synchronization, a silent dance forged in the crucible of shared danger. The archer occasionally gestures with a subtle shift of his head, a slight tilt of his hand, indicating a hidden path, a patch of particularly treacherous mud, or a section of dense undergrowth that offers better concealment. His awareness of the forest is absolute, his instincts sharp and finely honed. You realize he's not just leading you away from danger, he's guiding you, welcoming you deeper into his world. A faint, distant shout echoes from the direction of the village, quickly swallowed by the vastness of the woods. It's a stark reminder of the pursuit, the lingering threat, but it no longer carries the same paralyzing fear. Now it ignites a different kind of resolve, a hardening of purpose. You glance at your companion. He glances back, his eyes, dark and piercing in the gloom, meet yours for a fleeting moment. There's no fear there, no uncertainty, only a calm, unwavering determination, a shared understanding of the path ahead. The ground begins a subtle, almost imperceptible incline, leading you deeper into the ancient trees, towards the familiar, hidden heart of Sherwood. The air grows heavier with the scent of rich, dark earth and ancient moss, the subtle tang of iron from the hidden rocks. You know this path, not by sight, but by feeling, by the subtle contours of the land, by the unique language of the forest. You've come a long way from the confused stranger who woke alone in the woods. And this journey, taken with a silent, unexpected ally, marks another profound transformation. As the first faint streaks of pale gray begin to lighten the eastern sky, painting the silhouettes of the towering oaks against a bruised horizon, a deep, pervasive calm settles over you. You are not just escaping. You are moving forward deliberately into a future shaped by new alliances and shared purpose. You realize with a profound, almost spiritual clarity that some bonds are forged not in words, but in the silent spaces between shared breaths, in the desperate scramble for survival, and in the unspoken, unwavering trust exchanged in the deepest, most dangerous shadows of the world. The pungent, sweet scent of warm beeswax and pine resin, mingling with the dry, woody aroma of freshly shaved timber, fills the air around you. It's a deep, comforting smell that speaks of natural materials, of careful hands, of purpose. You sit hunched over a small, crude workbench in the hidden hollow, the soft, flickering light of a concealed lantern casting long, dancing shadows that make your meticulous task seem almost sacred. The low, steady hum of the small, hidden fire provides a constant, gentle backdrop to the quiet industry. In your hands, a slender shaft of ash wood feels surprisingly light, yet strong. Its surface, smooth from careful sanding, bears the faint, irregular grain of its natural origin. You're learning the delicate art of fletching, how to attach the feathers that will guide the arrow true. Your fingers, still raw and calloused from previous exertions, now move with a surprising, albeit clumsy, gentleness. The small, sharp knife, its blade honed to a razor's edge, feels alien in this new, precise role, a tool for creation rather than defense. The weathered man sits opposite you, his face a study in quiet concentration. He doesn't offer verbal instruction, but his movements are a silent lesson. He demonstrates with an effortless grace how to select the perfect feather, how to split its quill with a single, expert stroke, how to apply the warm, sticky resin with a careful, steady hand. You mimic his actions, your brow furrowed, your tongue caught between your teeth in intense focus. The first feather you attach is crooked, angled awkwardly, an immediate testament to your inexperience. You sigh a soft sound and carefully, painstakingly peel it away, the resin protesting with a faint, tearing sound. You try again. This time your fingers feel a little surer. The resin spreads smoothly, evenly. You press the feather into place, holding it firm for a long, slow count, feeling the delicate barbs adhere to the wood. It's a painstaking process, demanding absolute patience, a complete surrender to the minute details. The air, thick with the scent of pine and beeswax, feels heavy with your concentrated effort. You can hear the soft, rhythmic scrape of another companion, the younger one, carefully polishing a longbow stave nearby, the steady shush of sandpaper on wood. Your eyes trace the length of the shaft, imagining its flight, feeling the potential power held within this carefully crafted piece. You reach for another feather, its downy texture soft against your thumb, its quill firm. The second feather goes on more easily, then the third, each one a tiny victory. The unevenness of your first attempt gives way to a growing, almost imperceptible rhythm, a subtle understanding of the materials, of the forces at play. You test the fletching, running your finger lightly over the smooth, aligned feathers, feeling a quiet satisfaction blossom in your chest. As the lantern flickers and dips, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow, you complete your first fully fletched arrow. You hold it up, turning it slowly, seeing the feathers aligned, the flint tip gleaming. It's not perfect, but it's yours, a tangible product of your own effort, your own growing skill. The weathered man glances at it, then at you, and offers a slight, almost imperceptible nod of approval, a silent commendation that warms you more than any words. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about the quiet, profound satisfaction of learning to create, to hone a skill, to contribute to the very fabric of existence in this wild, demanding place. You realize that true mastery isn't just about wielding power, but about the painstaking, patient effort of building it, one feather, one shaft, one silent, resolute moment at a time.